I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
Wait.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing.
Lomito!
Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Video Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. This is your good friend, Mr. BDA, flying solo for the moment. I will be inviting people very, very soon. Before we get to that, shout out to everybody in the chat room. Talking about Jay Perez, GB Guthrie, Trill Ballins, Mr. E, John, Iceman, Junior, GB Guthrie. Already mentioned him. Well, why not? Second time. It's a Sunday evening. Afternoon rather. Jonathan Longson, Rami Sakakini, Black Lomachenko, and many more people to come, I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, as I mentioned. We had an efficient night of boxing last night, so I said, you know what? Let's save it for today, Sunday. We're all fresh. We all get a good night's sleep, I hope, for most everybody. And so we can discuss this at length and in detail. Don't forget, fellas, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to check out our Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury trilogy video, where we raise some interesting questions about what Wilder can do to win. I know it's a long shot, but when you hit as hard as he does, he can build an efficient game plan around that punching power. So don't forget to do that. And if you get a couple of shekels to send our way, that's fantastic too. But don't forget, the most important thing is that you continue to support us, continue to listen, and continue to spread the BDA gospel as prophesied. Shout out to Virtuoso, shout out to TNA, shout out to Official Scorecard Boxing. It says Nonito and Lobito coming at you like the left hook from Tito. Virtuoso says if Haney can keep Lopez on the end of a jab like he did against Linares, and then yeah, he could win on the scorecards, but he doesn't have that one-hit quitter that Lopez has. Fantastic point, Virtuoso. Fantastic point. You actually hit on a couple of points that I want to bring up here. Shout out to Bingo, who says Haney was rocked. Linares should have stopped him in the 11th. John Gonzalez says, hi, BDA. How you doing, cutie? Hope you're doing well. John keeps calling me cutie. He keeps calling everybody cutie and hottie in the fucking Discord. It's starting to creep me out. But hey, what can you do, man? It's John Gonzalez. Can't stop him. He's a postal worker, for Pete's sakes. You know how those guys react when you go after them. Explosiveness and a lot of gunshots. Shout out to High and Low Sports Zentrum, just donated the super chat. He says a federal judge just issued a restraining order in favor of Devin Haney to stay away from undisputed champion Teofimo Lopez. Well, listen, shout out to High and Low for his contribution. A lot of people are shitting on Devin Haney, and then there's other people defending him to the extreme. And as always, I hate to be cheesy over here, fellas, but I think the truth falls somewhere in between. That's how I always try to call it. And so we're going to get to that right away here. All right. So the big news is Devin Haney beats Jorge Linares by unanimous decision. I was actually surprised by the 115-113 scorecard, meaning one judge gave Linares 5 rounds. I thought he was competitive throughout the fight. There were a lot of rounds where he was letting flush on Haney, but I thought Haney maintained control throughout the fight, except those last 3 rounds, the championship rounds, where he had to pretty much go on the defensive. I'll tell you what I liked about Haney, because look, when a guy wins, you look at what he did well. You don't go start shitting on him right away. Well, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Like, Devin Haney is very, very quick, both on the trigger and on the defensive. Now, this is a division in which you have a lot of quick guys. You have Ryan Garcia, you have Teofimo Lopez quick on the trigger, you have Tank Davis, who could be moving up at some point, or moving back down rather, to 135, should he make it past Barrios, which, by the way, I'm not so sure that fight even happens. I'm suspicious that something's going to happen. Someone's going to test positive, possibly Barrios, for a PD or whatever, and whoops, the fight gets canceled. But anyway, there's a lot of speed. Even Javier Fortuna, a lot of speed. Haney does not have what Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez have, which is that, like Virtuoso said, that one-hitter quitter. He doesn't have their arsenal. But you don't need that type of ordinance to become a pound-for-pounder in the world. Well, forget pound-for-pound. Let's just stick to being the best lightweight in the world. That's what I like about Haney. I liked how, first of all, him and his team did not come out before the fight saying they were going to stop Linares. They learned their lesson from the Gamboa fight. They know they don't have that type of firepower, and they reacted accordingly and said, "Look, if the knockout comes, the knockout comes. That's what you're supposed to do." So I think they've been listening to a little feedback from people in the boxing fan world. Okay, I liked how he was outboxing Linares from the outside. See, that's the thing. People gave Lomachenko crap for the Linares fight. A lot of people don't count that as a good win for Lomachenko, and they say, "Well, Linares has been stopped before. He'd been stopped 3 times prior to that." Yeah, but who had dominated him throughout the fight? Salgado didn't do it. Salgado knocked him out in the first round. Sergio Thompson did it, third, fourth round? And DeMarco did it after losing most of the early rounds. And it was only within a space of 3 rounds that he was able to carve Linares' face up all of a sudden and then stop him. So you got to give a guy like Haney credit when he actually outboxes and pretty much shuts out a guy like Linares. He took away his arsenal. Bucho told me that. We were talking about the prior to the fight. He says, I don't think Linares is going to be able to land that right hand. And that's the thing with Devin Haney. If you give him distance, he pretty much knows how to neutralize that right hand from the outside with that shoulder roll. On the inside, it's a whole different thing, but on the outside, it's, you better come up with something else, because that right hand is not going to work unless you work on it. And the other thing is, I love that jab from Devin Haney. So he was able to control the distance. And then in the 6th round, and I believe in the 9th, maybe I'm wrong, he tried to push the rhythm a little bit, fighting Linares real close, really stabbing him to the body. So he shows, listen, the guy can fight on the inside, he can fight on the outside. And on the inside, he can be pretty rough. And I think if he continues to work on things, he could become an Andre Ward type fighter. Look, Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez, they're what I call mustard sandwiches. They got mustard in their shots. They got that mustard that gives the sandwich a little pep. Devin Haney is a sandwich without the mustard. Yeah, it'll take away the hunger. It'll fill up your stomach. It does what it has to do, but nobody wants a sandwich with no mustard. And that's what Devin Haney is. He doesn't have that mustard, but he can become the best sandwich in the world in the sense of the sandwich that fills you up the most efficient sandwich out there, a nutritious sandwich, if you will. I'm not high, people. I know what I'm talking about right now. So what I'm trying to say is, if he becomes an Andre Ward type fighter where he can shut you out from the outside and get real close and work on the clinch and neutralize your game in there, he could, but what that necessitates is proficiency on both the outside and the inside. He would have to be very, and I do mean very, efficient on the inside and the outside. And that's the big question, right? Can he do that? Because those last 3 rounds against Linares, let me tell you, it didn't look good. And that's the other thing. Josh Taylor was clinching a lot. That's what we complained about. Taylor fans didn't like it that we mentioned the clinching. And guess what? I'm going to bring up the clinching again. A lot of clinching from Haney. A lot of clinching. Even when he didn't have to clinch, he was clinching. I can understand the last 3 rounds. But earlier on, he was falling in a lot of clinches. One punch at a time, clinching. Shout out to High and Low Sports Center for his contribution via the Super Chat. Says, congratulations to the top prospect, Haney. Look, he beat a dangerous guy, Linares. There were a lot of people that were saying Linares was an underdog in this one, a live underdog. I heard that from a couple of people. So you got to if you picked Haney to lose, you got to give him credit for beating this guy. Slight Tendency says, why are you acting like Linares is in his prime? Nobody's acting like Linares is in his prime. but he's not shot. And Haney was winning those 8 rounds. I wouldn't say outright. I wouldn't say he was schooling Linares, but he was comfortably ahead. I felt he was taking a shot here and there, but hey, that's boxing. And now I do agree, though. Look, those last 3 rounds. Oof, I don't know what that was about. And the clinching that I mentioned. Check this out, fellas. This was one of the clinches in the last round. Look at that. I hate when fighters at least punch before you clinch. This just looks bad, man. And that's the thing. Look, people want to criticize Devin Haney. You can criticize Devin Haney based on the amount of talk that you believe from his team or his fans. Because his fans were saying he was the next Mayweather. Lomachenko was dodging him. Teofimo Lopez doesn't want to fight him. Ryan Garcia doesn't want to fight him. So when you put yourself out there as the boogeyman, can you really afford to have the type of bad night he had last night? Because it was a bad night. It turned into a nightmare the last 3 rounds. Didn't really look like the boogeyman, did he? Because look, he was getting tagged by Linares, and like people said, yeah, he's not 25 anymore, but there are 25-year-old guys out there, right? Or 26, 27. You got Teofimo Lopez, you got Ryan Garcia. Just those 2 guys alone with the type of ordinance they have. The Haney might be in trouble there. He might not make it. He might not be able to clinch his way to the last bell if he gets hurt by those guys. But like I said, I like the jabs. I like the he showed that he could fight on the inside and the outside a little bit. But that firepower, lack of firepower, really could cost him. Unless, like I said, he steps up his game. He becomes so good at boxing from the outside and the inside that he's able to neutralize these guys. A little bit like Andre Ward was able to do. But other than that, but that's the thing though, he did so much talking. Him and his father have done so much talking before the fights, trying to position themselves as this boogeyman. And it's the same thing with Demetrius Andrade. All this talk about how, well, they're avoiding us. Well, if they're avoiding you, then you have to fight top-notch every fight. You cannot have bad 3 straight rounds the way they did. And I'm going to show you a couple of clips from how he got hurt. Well, a GIF, actually. We're also going to talk about Donaire, by the way. Man, that Donaire, man, let me tell you. And, of course, a couple of other tidbits that have been going on. But anyway, with all that being said, hold on a second. Okay, I'm going to invite a couple of people and we're going to be opening up the phone lines very, very soon because I want to hear what people have to say. And but I want everybody here on the panel to have their say and, of course, read a couple of comments as well. It was a good night of boxing, let me tell you. And like I said, the phone line is going to be opening up soon. And we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully you guys come up. Let's see, we'll read a couple of comments here. People, ZMM says, guys cheering for Haney were booing him at the end. Yeah, that's the other thing. See, that's what I'm talking about with the mustard sandwich. He's no mustard sandwich. He doesn't have any condiments in there. And so at some point, people, how he can do a lot of talking, which that's what they say. Well, we got to get our name out there, so we got to do a lot of talking on social media and all that. But at some point, when you don't deliver, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Eric Gross says double underhooks. Yeah, talking about the clinch there. Jay Perez says technically it's called a hug clinch. Hey, don't forget, fellas, clinching is illegal, man. I said this for the Taylor fight. I said this for the Andrade fight. Clinching is illegal. It means a guy's out of ideas. I've done my share of clinching in sparring, by the way, when I'm outclassed, which is very often, by the way. Reese Max says Haney might have still been a little dazed when he hugged him and he was scared of getting cracked while going in for the clinch, so he crouched real low. Yeah, look, he continued to being hurt, and it had nothing to do with conditioning, by the way, because I heard that from some people saying, well, maybe his stamina's not... It didn't have to do... He was fresh. He could still move. He could still punch. He got caught and he couldn't recover. Makes me wonder what that chin of his is made of. Virtuoso says, splendid night of boxing. I hope you guys talk about Nonito Donaire. Yes, like I said, we're going to be talking about that. One foot out the door says, be humble or boxing will make you humble. Very well said. One foot out the door. Very well said. Boxing Logic says, Haney had 8 dominant rounds. Talk about that. I did talk about that. Boxing Logic's always late to the party. He always wants to be the contrarian, telling us what we got wrong, but he never really jumps in at the beginning when we gave him props. Or maybe he did, but he just wants to ignore that. JJ says, congrats to Donaire. He looks huge for the weight loss. Looks at least 2 divisions bigger. That's the other thing. Anyway, I got a shout out to Texas Bulldogs for his contribution with the Super Chat. Says, good win for Haney. Very good win. I put it right there with the Ryan Garcia stopping Campbell, because look, at least Haney got caught, but he didn't get dropped or anything. Garcia got dropped. He got dropped hard. Now he was able to stop Campbell, but just like with Linares, Campbell and Linares not exactly in their primes anymore. Anyway, like I said, I got Boxing Chief and Bucho here on the line. Fellas, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Yeah, I gotta go soon, so just give me my thoughts on the fight. I was impressed with Devin Haney. He was outboxing Linares. That's we all saw that, I think. Just the last 3 rounds, yeah, he looked like shit. He was hurt, but also remember we were complaining about Devin Haney not being very aggressive against the Gamboa. Well, now he was aggressive, or more aggressive. So, that's what I wanted to see from Devin Haney. So it's unfortunate that maybe that he shouldn't be fighting that way. I mean, maybe there was a reason why he didn't fight that way against Gamboa, and we saw it tonight. I saw it yesterday. So he's gonna maybe have to change his style. He might not be fan friendly. It's a fact. He might not. Well, not a fact, but he might not be fan friendly. So we're maybe gonna have to live with that.
Absolutely.
We saw what happened when he tries to be aggressive.
Yeah, and
then I guess Teofimo Lopez. I don't know, man.
At this point, Bucho, people saying, well, he's still got potential, blah blah. Still, he's got potential to improve his technique and all that, and his game plan abilities, and his ability to maintain plans, or even to adjust, because he didn't adjust all that well in certain parts. But in terms of physicality, I think the die is set. The cast is set. I think he doesn't really have that good a chin. I don't think he improves his punching power from here on out, unless he starts getting on some high-powered vitamins, if you know what I mean. But other than that, like you said, look, the news, it's all out there now. And he can improve his technique and all that, but punching power and chin, he's not the most durable guy. He's going to have to watch out if he fights guys, like you said, like Lopez and Garcia.
Are we exaggerating on his chin, though? I mean, Linares can crack.
That's true. That's true.
He got caught, and, what is it?
I mean, at the same time, this is a featherweight that moved up to lightweight, and he's 35 years old. Reaction time has something to do with diminishing your power over time if you're not a heavy boned fighter like George Foreman, which Linares is not. I mean, I don't just mean by heavyweight standards. I mean thick boned guys like Rafael Pineda, if you guys remember him.
Yes.
The Colombian guy. He was a thick boned man for those that weight level, and he had power all the way through his career. Devin Haney does not. Neither does Linares.
That's a good point. See, there's 2 ways of looking at this, man, because I don't want to shit on the guy, because Haney showed a lot of good in there. He was controlling Linares early on, man. Linares, and you could tell Linares, look, guys always say going into a fight how they're ready and this was the best training camp of their lives, blah, blah, blah. Something about Linares, the passion in his voice, it was a little bit different. It could be my imagination, but it seemed like he was really pumped up for this fight. And the fact that he wasn't getting what he wanted done in there, I give Haney credit for that. So I give Haney credit for his skills and that jab of his. I think that's his ace in the hole against Lopez and all these other guys. But you're right. When it comes to the chin, there's 2 ways of looking at it. Like Bucho said, Linares can crack. But then like Boxing Chief said, yes, but technically he's more of a featherweight still. You saw that there was a size difference. So, and then you wonder, compound that with Lopez's power, which is substantial. How does that, you know what I mean? It's like there's 2 ways, there's a lot of factors.
Like, could you imagine Haney at 140? I mean, like, we haven't even seen him against very big punchers at 135. So, yeah, maybe you guys have a point there.
Well, let's go. You have to go soon, you said, Bucho. So, I mean, you want to, like, any breakdowns of the fight, any questions you want to raise or any questions answered? Or
the guy has heart. He showed me. I mean, he's aggressive. He has balls. He wanted to prove. I mean, it appeared to me as if he did want to prove us wrong, because a lot of people shit on his performance against Gamboa, and so he wanted to, prove us that he can be aggressive. And his plan was to take out Linares. His plan wasn't just to outbox Linares. He actually wanted to take him out, and so I give him credit for that. Unfortunately, he's not that type of fighter, I guess. At this level, not gonna be taking these guys out, and
that's a good
so maybe
point,
he's
man.
gonna have to You know, maybe he was smart when he fought. When he fought Gamboa, the way he fought Gamboa, that's his style, man. Not a friendly style.
Butcher, you bring up a good point about him trying to stop Linares, because that's what I wanted to see from him. A little bit more rough, and he was roughing Linares when they were on the inside. Now, I give him points for trying, but you can only give a guy so many points for trying. What about the result? He couldn't stop Linares. Again, this is the second time in a row that he's failed to stop a guy that's been stopped before by people that he was comparing himself to, Haney, that is. So, Boxing Chief, what do you think? I mean, the failure to stop him.
I mean, so if I may draw a parallel for a second to Sean Porter, when I have my debates about him, everyone talks about he's a good fighter with a good punch. Sean Porter went 20 rounds with one of the Diaz brothers, who had a shaky chin at lightweight, and this fight was at welterweight. So you couldn't take out a lightweight, a 30-plus-year-old lightweight at welterweight when you were a middleweight in the amateurs, and this is your quote-unquote punching power. Now you're taking on, back to this fight, a featherweight who's 35, and has been knocked out all but one time of his losses, and that's against you. He's been knocked out by every other loss he's ever had, except for you. So now what does that say about... Now, we've had guys that weren't hard punchers. We've had Pernell Whitakers. We've had Floyd Mayweathers who moved up in weight that weren't hard punchers. But they still had some kind of pop that could keep you honest.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had good pop against guys at the lower level of competition, which is where Linares is now at his age. And you're not going to be able to keep... If there's certain fighters, if you can't keep them off of you, you're not going to win. Mayweather versus Madonna, for instance. There are a lot of people thought Madonna won that first fight because Floyd couldn't keep him off of him. And so he didn't have the power to keep him off. So against a Teofimo, or against a much bigger guy like Josh Taylor, if you move up in weight, who can reach you from further, who has a reach advantage, what are you going to do if you don't have any pop to keep him honest to walk in on you?
Now, but it's interesting because...
Go ahead. Was Linares... I think Linares did respect Haney's power to a certain extent. I mean, obviously he wasn't really hurt in that fight, but that jab gave him, he look at Linares' high guard. The whole time he was putting the fucking high guard.
I'm not disputing that. And it's obviously he's supposed to also look at his face at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
If he kept his hands down and wanted to walk right into all those jabs, his face would have swollen up. It's not the fact that he would have been hurt, but the damage would have been to where he couldn't see. But you don't have to have power to do that to someone's face.
That's a good point, man.
Scar tissue.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Linares also told... Haney asked him, how's my power compared to Lomachenko's? And Linares sort of hesitated a little bit. He goes, you got good power. You got good power. And then afterwards, I think it was afterwards, Linares did an interview somewhere else. And he said, his power ain't shit. So either he's lying or maybe the interview took place... that interview, he said the power wasn't shit, was beforehand. I don't know. But it seemed like, look, the results speak for themselves. Haney tried to stop Linares, couldn't do it, couldn't even open up a cut or anything. And then he ended up getting caught and had to survive the last 3 rounds. So it is, the good was that he outboxed Linares, which is not an easy thing to do. But on the other hand, if you're quicker and you're, people are saying, a lot of people were saying Devin Haney is the next Floyd, blah, blah, blah. He outboxes Lomachenko, he outboxes Teofimo. All those guys are avoiding him. He couldn't stop Linares, so that is a big criticism, a big gape in his arsenal. Couldn't stop a guy that's been stopped before. At least got him something, and then he spends the last 3 rounds on the defensive. See, that's where I'm trying to find many good things to say about Devin Haney, but those 3 rounds were suspect, man. Especially when he's got guys with high ordnance in this division. Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia alone. And then a guy like Subriel Matias, who's got a body on his record, by the way. I mean, I know he doesn't have the one-punch knockout power, but man, the volume this guy puts forward and the punch resistance he has. So, man, I think Haney needs to continue improving. I think he can improve his technique and his strategies and all that, but punching power, he needs to stop trying. He's never going to be a guy that's going to knock you out with one shot. But he was worried.
Like you said, if he spends more time on the heavy bag, less on the punch mitts and stuff, he will be able to hit as hard as his body will let him. And I don't think he spends enough. It doesn't look like he hits the heavy bag very often.
You think so, man?
The way his, Oh, I can't say because I never really watched him train very much, and I don't think there's a lot of exclusive footage of every last part of his training camp. But I don't think he hits it hard. I don't think he sits down and practices on sitting his punches to get those muscle fibers, those fast twitch muscles flexed at the right time, because punching power is also about timing. So if you hit the heavy bag the right way when it's coming back at you, some of these guys can, I mean, myself included, I didn't make it very far because I kept jamming my wrist. I wasn't built for boxing. I love it, but I just couldn't do it. Some of these guys can. If you're sitting down on your shots, you're hitting a 200-pound heavy bag, and you're sitting on your shots, you will develop, like you said, a paraphrase from you yourself, BDA, you will be able to hit as hard as your body possibly can. You may not become a knockout puncher, but it will help develop your power. I don't think you spend enough time on it. It's my opinion. I don't know this for a fact. But in my opinion is I don't think he's trying to improve his power. He's trying to, and as far as technique, I would like you to elaborate on that. What do you mean technique? His punching technique or the way he does his battle plan?
Yeah, I think both things. Like, for example, Andrew Ward was able to shut you out on the outside. So he could buy time if he wanted to, make you miss, frustrate you. And then all of a sudden he would do that for about 30 seconds and completely close the distance, either with a shot or just jumping in. And then he would rough guys up on the inside. And he was very good on the inside, very good on the outside. Excellent, I would say. So if Haney can do that, where he beats guys on the inside, and if he can't do that, he can beat them on the outside, and he's that much superior to them. That's what I'm talking about. And I think the potential could be there, considering he's 22. But then that brings the other point of contention that I want to bring up. But before I do that, hold on. Shout out to High and Low Sports Centrum for his contribution. He says, Haney made a good fight at the level of what he is, a top prospect. That's a good point. I still consider him a prospect. Just because he's got a belt, a paper belt, doesn't mean he's a champ, fellas. So I still consider... Well, now I don't consider him a prospect anymore because he beat Linares. But on to what I was saying. The improvement of technique, fellas, at this point, he had Bill Haney in his corner, his father, and he also had Ben Davidson, who's, I don't know, he's like Hollywood now. He seems to be... doors are opening up for the guy where I don't know how he's doing it. So my question is, does Haney need a new trainer? That's what some people are saying. I hate to do that. I hate to bring up that, well, maybe he needs a new trainer. But what do you fellas think in terms of improvement out there for his technique?
Bujo, you go first.
I agree with what Boxing Chief said about the power. New trainer, not really. I only think he outboxed Linares for 10 rounds for the most, almost 10 rounds. The first 10 rounds or 9 rounds, it went perfect. I mean, sure, he couldn't stop Linares. He didn't really hurt Linares, but he was outboxing the shit out of that guy. So a new trainer, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's just gonna cause maybe more problems.
Good points, man. That's true. He did what he had to those first 9 rounds and a half. Like I said, Linares wasn't completely out of the fight, but I thought Haney was in control, man. And I was actually when he started pressuring him, I think it was in the ninth or something, going to the really close in the distance. I said, man, he might. My prediction was Haney by stoppage to the body. So I was thinking, he's actually gonna maybe pull it off. And then the 10th happened. I said, oh boy. But Chief, what do you think? Trainer, is that something? Is that a bit of a cliche to bring that up right now, or?
Way too soon. Because he's still maturing into his man body. He's more solid now than he was obviously at 17. But so he's still maturing into his man body. A new trainer's not going to do much. His skill set is definitely on point. It's definitely way above average. His hand speed, he fits that mold of the Mayweather and Ward where they let their punches go effortlessly. What trainer is going to add anything different to what he can physically do? Nothing. So also your punching power is kind of genetic. Yeah, you can, like I said, the heavy bag can help it make it better, as good as it could possibly be. But if you're not a puncher, you're not a puncher.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. It can help him develop the kind of stinging power to keep guys off of him, but not necessarily to knock people out. If he's not a knockout puncher, he's not a knockout puncher. Unless he can find ways to get angles on the guys and hit them with shots they don't see, and that's what knocks him out. But he did that last night, and it didn't do it to a guy who's been knocked out 5 times before. So
that's the thing. Yeah.
I'm not positive that that's going to change anything. So I think if he's comfortable with his dad and that Davidson cat, if he's comfortable with that in his corner, because he's his own manager and he's technically his own promoter, he's running his own show, then I say he sticks with it.
Yeah, that's a good point, man, because again, the only reason why I think most people are criticizing for the last 3 rounds is because of the bar that the Haney fans and Haney's team set. And also, look, if you bought that, all those people are now saying, oh, well, he got exposed. that's probably because you were buying the hype. He's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. And in regards to at this
He's
point,
not Floyd Mayweather.
he's not Floyd Mayweather. Now, look, I will say this, Butcher, like you made a great point. The first 9.5 rounds, he was doing what he was supposed to. He neutralized Linares' right hand. So he's that guy going for him. And in terms of punching power, I didn't see Gamboa jumping on him. I didn't see Linares, Linares tried, but he was respecting that punching power. So the punching power is there to be respected. But he's not going to stop.
Sorry, go ahead.
He's not going to stop world-class guys unless he hits them, unless they drop their hands and hits them flush in the fucking face, right? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Does he have the power of the hands for the chin to meet the shoulder? We'll see. But okay, so he was outboxing Linares very well, and you're right. Gamboa didn't rush in on him either. But no one runs right into a jab on purpose, even if the jab's not going to knock you out. And so that jab is something that keeps people busy and it keeps them at bay. He counters well. He threw some decent right hands over Linares' jab. He didn't always land them all, but that was there. Let's point something else out. You said he's not the next Floyd Mayweather. If you remember, once he left the junior lightweight division until he beat Gotti, Mayweather wasn't Mayweather. He looked bad against Castillo in 2 fights. Should have lost the first one, in many people's opinion. Clearly won the second one, but not by a landslide. He was not impressive against Victor Sosa. Philip Endau was a B-rate fighter. He gets staggered by DeMarcus Corley, who's not a big puncher. Now, this is reality to all you Mayweather fans that didn't follow his career all the way through of what he was at that time. And here we are criticizing a guy who has the potential, skill-wise, to do the same thing when he hits his niche, when he finds the right opponent. If he hits his niche and finds the right opponent, that he could do the same thing. He stacked up some decent knockouts on the way up, which is the same thing Floyd did, and we're riding this out to see where he goes. Steve Kim said it best that there's a lot more questions still yet to be answered after this fight than we thought there were going to be. I'm paraphrasing him, but he wrote that on his Instagram.
Yeah, man, because look, I expected him to at least hurt Linares visibly. I think he did that to the body at one point, but he never, you know what I mean when I mean hurt. I wobble him, drop him, something. So there's the biggest question here is his chin and his punching power. Other than that, look, the skills are there, man. He proved it. People can say, well, Linares is 35, blah, blah, blah. Look, it's still a fast Linares. It was a motivated Linares, and Haney shut him out. So now, I think that the best thing we can do is keep an eye on him, see what's next.
Yep.
Eddie Hearn said, and this is according to what he said publicly. He says, look, after this fight, and if Lopez beats Kombucha, we're gonna make a substantial offer to Lopez. So he seems to be willing to make that fight. There's a lot of questions though out there. Does Teofimo Lopez want the fight? First of all, he has to beat Kombucha, and he has to look good in doing it because all the shit he's been talking to about Devin Haney, he can't afford to look bad either. And then, of course, can he make 135 again? So that's just putting it out there. That's what Eddie Hearn says. He wants to make an offer to Lopez. He wants that Haney-Lopez fight.
And we shouldn't wait for that fight. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead first. Go.
No, so just quickly, I don't think we should wait for this fight. Haney needs another fight. No, he just beat Linares, a veteran. So we're ready for this fight. No excuses, please, people. Don't make any excuses.
Yeah, I think
Agreed.
so. Yeah,
Agreed. I think that this fight needs to happen sooner than later. I mean, Lopez is obviously not going to rematch Lomachenko anytime soon. Lomachenko has his own fight to get in the way of this. You need a certain amount of time for your body to recover before you go and train for another fight. So he's going to have that in his way. So Haney just had his fight. There's enough time for the Haney Lopez fight to be next.
You know what though? I you know me. I'm a bit of I like to play it close to the vest. I mean, not close. The contrary. I like to play it safe. With Haney, he's 22. He looks shaky. Wouldn't you want to see one more fight? Just to give him a little bit of confidence, because I think these last 3 rounds might have taken the confidence out of him. And you know that confidence is a big factor when you're boxing, if not the biggest factor. So if he goes in there with a shaky mentality, yeah.
Let's play promoter, matchmaker, manager for a second instead of trainer and fight fan. then yeah, you could possibly do that. The main idea, so for everyone but the promoter, is to get the fighter as much money as possible because then you make the most money you can. So if you don't think it's ready for that fight because you don't think he can win, because you're not just looking at that being the end-all be-all of his career, you're looking at bigger things down the road, then yeah, milk it. Milk it for probably a year, put him in 2 more times with 2 other guys that he can still shut out. And maybe someone who he should, like in the case of Linares, that has a shaky enough chin, he might be able to stop to get some kind of knockout on his resume, high profile, that people are going to want to see. Leo Santa Cruz just got knocked out by Tank Davis, but he's not a lightweight. Get him in there, and you see if your volume punching can stop him, because you're not going to get him with someone like Cruz with 1 shot. So see if his volume punching can knock out a bantamweight, can knock out a featherweight, maybe can knock out a bantamweight. But I mean, get that in there and put another name on his resume. Put a little bit longer. The problem is Lopez probably isn't going to be around for 2 more years at lightweight. So if you want that fight and you want it here versus 140 or 147, I wouldn't wait longer than another fight or 2.
It's a good point, man. And let me just go back to, first of all, by the way, fellas, don't forget that like button, hit that like button, and the phone lines are open. So call in and give us your thoughts on this whole malarkey. If I go back to put my training hat on, though, or fighter hat on, you made an interesting remark there, Boxing Chief, about, well, look, does Haney let those last 3 rounds define him, or does he go into any fight confident that he can shut out anybody with his boxing skills? And I think that's also an important factor right there, that, like Buchu said, look, maybe make the fucking Lopez fight now. But by the way, Lopez is moving up soon, like you said, too, Boxing Chief. So from that aspect, the time is of the essence as well. So they need to make that fight happen. 407, we got a phone call here, so let's go to that one real quick. And you guys tell me right away if you can hear him, all right? 407, you're on the air. 407, what's on your mind?
Excellent. So
I can hear him.
all I'm gonna say is, wait, you can hear me?
Yes, they can hear you.
Wonderful. Dang, there's an echo. Anyways, all I'm gonna say is, hey, like you guys said, Haney does have a great combination of skills and IQ, along with speed. But he has 3 things that don't go well with him. The last one I'm going to say is debatable. Maybe he'll get it later on, but he doesn't have a chin, power, and heart. He doesn't have that killer mentality or that dog in him, at least from what I saw, because he didn't want to fight back. He just wanted to cuddle. And I think that might play a big factor when he gets it up with the higher competition, because if he's going to get into a hard fight, we might either see him get clocked, cuddle some more, get a lot of points taken away with the right ref, and maybe even get quit on the stool.
Whoa.
I think it's a bit early to say that. I think it's a bit early to say that about his heart. He was holding because he'd never been in that situation before, and Hector Camacho did the same thing. He turned into a Hector Camacho and holds his way of defense. Then, if that's the case, then the caller's correct. But we have yet to see that right now. He did what he knew how to do, how to survive in a high-profile fight, and it's a learning experience for him of what to do moving forward. And again, I particularly question his chin also, because again, it was a 35-year-old featherweight. But Linares can crack at lightweight. He showed it before. So even though I made that comment myself, I'm not ready to question his heart yet. His chin, yes. His power, yes. Heart, not yet.
Caller?
Well, all I'm saying is, like, hopefully he gets that mentality right soon, and some good sparring sessions with some good fighters, because if he doesn't get that mentality right, he could be in a lot of trouble, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, especially when you get the type of firepower in that division from Lopez and Ryan Garcia, or even a guy like Comey, which I omitted earlier on. Caller, I got one last question here for you. If you were Devin Haney's manager, promoter, whatever, who would you put him in there against now? Lopez right away? Forget all the weaknesses and whatever? Or, like, yeah.
I'd say the loser of Loma versus Nakatani.
The loser. All right, well, that's one way to go, man. That's one way to go. Hey, well, listen, we got to move on. Thank you for your call. We'll catch you in the next one, all right?
All right,
Take
can
it
I call
easy.
later for the when we get talking about Nonito or not?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
All right, excellent. Y'all
Hear what
take
he
care.
said.
God bless. See you later.
Take it easy, man. Yeah, we're gonna get to Donaire later on. I want to stay on Haney here for a while because people are gonna want to call in about that. Let's go to 470. 470. You're on the air. 470. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, guys? In terms of Devin Haney, I see a guy with the athleticism. I see the skills, a lot of skills. Probably the most skilled guy outside of Loma in the division. Like you guys alluded to before, there's a lack of power. He's got the athleticism and the speed and the counter punching ability, but I don't see him doing damage to people. He's comparing himself to Mayweather. Mayweather was stopping guys, 130, 135, Pretty Boy Floyd. The other thing I want to talk about, you guys were talking about the trainer. I kind of find it concerning that they brought in Ben Davison. Ben Davison, I see him as he's like a tactical guy, strategy guy. But when it comes to actually fighting, in the ring and getting his fighter out there, I mean, you saw that with Tyson Fury. He's looking how to survive. He's looking to win 12 rounds. He's not looking to put the other guy out of contention. And that's why I think Tyson Fury, left him and went to Sugar Hill. I just don't know if the strategy of, I think him and his father may know that. They may be thinking, well, we don't have the power or whatever. So we got to find a way to strategically, win 12-round fights like last night. But I don't think that strategy is going to work against guys who have one-punch knockout power like Garcia and Lopez. Even Lomachenko, in his 30s, who came up from 126 pounds, dropped Linares with a body shot. So I just for in terms of with Haney, with all that hand speed, all that skills, you got to be doing damage to people, and it's going to be tough for him to go up against other younger, stronger, skilled guys.
That's a good point, man. That's a good point. He doesn't seem to be having any trouble making weight, so that's good for him because right now moving up completely out of necessity. It's not necessary. It's unnecessary. So. Yeah, man.
I think I can't remember the guy was talking earlier about the training. He looks like a guy who hits mitts, and he doesn't hit the heavy bag.
Yeah, that was me.
And it just reminds me of the training Fury was doing with Ben Davison, where you're hitting pad. You go into the Wilder fight, and you're hitting pads, and you're trying to how you're going to avoid the right hand, and you're going to slip and duck and dodge and move and all that, but the longer you let a fight go on, the more tired you're going to get. And if the other guy has power, eventually you can't duck and dodge everything. You're going to get hit. And that's what happened to Haney last night. So if you have the hand speed, if you have the athleticism, you got to be doing damage to people if you're hitting them. You got to go in there with the intent to do damage, to either knock the guy out or slow him down or, discourage him from pursuing you. But he's not doing that. It's like he's hitting, he's scoring points with shots. He's not damaging people.
Excellent points, because that's the thing that people omit when they talk about punching power. It's not just, hey, let me hit this guy with one shot and put him out. First of all, putting power on your shots takes a lot out of you, especially if you miss. And most professional fighters know how to make you miss, either by moving their head, rolling with the shots, a whole lot of strategy techniques. And not only do you have to throw with power and commit, you actually have to do that throughout the fight and set up the punching power and get it to connect and a whole bunch of factors. So that's why when you see a guy like Andrade, when all of a sudden he decides against a guy like Zulensky, hey, I'm going to put pressure on him and take him out, and he blows his wad in the first 6 rounds, and then he goes, you know what, I'm getting tired here. I'm fighting out of my comfort zone. Let me go back to my comfort zone. And that's a little bit the same thing with Haney. I think Haney did a better job, though, of being aggressive throughout the fight than Andrade did against Zulensky. But at the same time, your point stands. To maintain that type of power and to break a guy down, it's hard. But at the same on the same side of the token, on the other side of the token, Linares has been stopped before, so that's kind of a knock on Haney. But anyway, listen, caller, we gotta move on. Oh, go ahead, Boxing Chief. Go ahead.
Well, caller, very good points. Jumping over to the Mayweather thing real quick. At 135, He only had one stoppage in title fights out of his 4 fights there, so he was already moving out of his power zone at 135. But back to Haney, I think that he needs to try and find ways to that style of fighter. The Charlers are very similar. They don't hit the body enough. They just don't. They don't. And the way Teddy Atlas taught Timothy Bradley to do it. You can throw the hook all you want to, just don't do it right in front of them. Get that angle, step to the outside of their shoulder, then start throwing that hook because they can't hit you back, and you're safe to hit that liver there and try and wear a person down. Even with the limited power he's got, you beat the liver enough, the person's going to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
They may not get hurt, but they're going to slow. And then later in the fight, if their body's not 100%, then you start cracking them. You can start seeing some damage. So I think the caller had a very good point on you got to have some power, but power can be artificially made if you place your punches in the right spots to weaken your opponent, which he's not doing because he's a headhunter.
It's a bit of a loophole, right? Yeah, it's like a shortcut, if you will, a hack, if you will. Now listen, 470, we got to move on, but thank you for your call, and we'll catch you in the next one, all right, man?
All right, guys.
Take it easy, man. Thank you for your call. Great points. Let's go. By the way, Jimmy, can you hold on here because we got a lot of phone calls here, and then we'll get the
no problem.
I think you said you were busy, by the way. Maybe you can you can get back to your.
I finished up.
Oh, okay.
I finished up.
Wipe your
I dropped
mouth,
the kids off.
All right, man. All right, let's go to 917. 917, you're on the air. 917. What's on your mind?
Hello.
Yes, 917. You're on the air. Yes, indeed.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I have to agree with what the other guy said. And I was going to mention it anyway before he said it, but I think Ben Davidson is not like a good fit for Haney long term. Because I even noticed it with the Josh Taylor fight, which was a great fight. Josh Taylor did his thing. But if you do pay attention in the later rounds, he was kind of coasting with a little bit of hugging, but he did it a lot smarter than Haney. Like, he was still throwing punches with the free hand, and he was still making it a rough fight even though he was hugging. But with Haney, it was just playing, like, I think from, like, rounds 10 to 12, like, he was, like, off the break running for a hug. And me just looking at that, like, I don't think that will work well long term, especially against a guy like Teo. Like, it's not going to work because Teo's, like, he's way bigger and stronger than Linares. Like, and I don't know if you guys saw the Loma fight. We definitely did. But he has the ability to push his opponent off of him and then keep fighting them. So, like, you can't hug on a guy like that. You got to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got things to fix. But in terms of the good that he did, what did you think? What did you see that you liked there from him?
He's super fast. He has, I don't know, like, I kind of see hints of Mayweather in a weird way when he's ducking down and, like, ducking those punches, and he's still, like, he has good vision of, like, the shots that are coming. He's lacking power, but speed and his vision of his opponent, like, knowing what shots are coming is, like, pretty much 10 out of 10. So that's why I feel like if he switches trainers to someone that just, I don't know who would be the right guy, but, you know, someone just not Ben Davidson, we might be able to see, like, way better results out of him. So
I think Buddy McGirt would do them a lot of good.
Things I see. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Carl. I wasn't trying to interrupt
Hello?
you. You mentioned another trainer. The name Buddy McGirt came to mind of someone that could teach him how to get those counters, flip them, hit them from a shot from an angle they wouldn't get hit with, and he might be able to drop a little bit more on those shots, knowing that he was in a safe place. That's just my opinion.
Caller?
Yeah.
Anything?
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead. Anything else before we move on?
No, I'm just thinking.
You're thinking.
That's pretty much it, though. Yeah, he is clearly, like, he dominated 80%, maybe 90% of that fight. But when it comes to, like, getting cracked, he's got a lot to learn about that. And I think he could improve his power because if you look at the guy, like, does he look weak? He doesn't look weak at all. I think it's really just the stance that he's in. He's kind of leaning over his back foot because he has a defensive fighting backwards kind of style. But if he was, like, kind of like how Fury switched to the Kronk, then you saw instantly, like, okay, he's not a one-punch knockout guy, but he did damage.
That's
so
a great
think
point,
if
man.
he goes to the right trainer, we will. Yeah, like he's athletic. Like if you got that kind of like body type, like you have to have strength.
I'll tell you why,
I just
man.
don't see how you can't.
I tell you why I agree with that. Because when he's on the inside, he actually gets good leverage on his shots, real short leverage and short shots with some snap on them. So I think he could, but I think Boxing Chief hit it on the head there. I think he hits those pads and he hits the punching bag. He taps the body bag, the punching bag. He doesn't go full out on it. Maybe. By the way, listen, 917. We're gonna have to move on. We got other calls, but thank you for your call, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right, man?
All right, thanks.
Take it easy, man. Later. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. And shout out to, hold on a second, because we had a super chat. Shout out to Marky Dan123, who donated with the super chat. He says, Inoue versus Donaire 2. Oh, yes, indeed. We're going to talk about that, Marky Dan. Thank you for your contribution, man. Let's go to 351. 351, you're on the air. 351, what's on your mind?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me pretty good?
I can hear you fantastic, man.
Can you
Is this
hear me?
Michael? Yes, indeed. Is this Michael?
Yeah, you guys are a little faded. It's Michael Poe. What's up?
How you doing, man? What's on your mind?
Nothing. I was wondering what you guys think about the weight bullying and how people who are at 135 come in the ring at like 150, close to it. Do you guys have any... what are your thoughts on that? Because Lopez and Haney are clearly way above 135, and I've always had a problem with people saying he's a big lightweight, he's a small. Either you are or you aren't. If you rehydrate and you're 4 or 5 pounds over, then you're a lightweight. But if you come in at 150, 140 something,
well, let me
I've
get
always had
Jimmy
a problem
in.
with that terminology.
Let me get Jimmy in on this because he knows a thing
I
or
just
two
thought
about me.
Lopez in the last fight was huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Listen, let me get Jimmy in on this. Jimmy, I don't know if you're available, but what do you think about that? These guys coming in at 135 and then whoops, 150 the next day.
Well, again,
I mean,
they
either you
learned
are
how
or
to
you aren't.
manipulate the
Class.
day before weigh-in. They got rid of the day of weigh-in because so many kids were, getting to the point where, it was dangerous. They felt they were entering the ring the night of the fight, too already weakened. And so for health reasons, they changed it to the day before, but now kids are just manipulating. And it's set up to make a weight bully. Like, without a doubt, like, Haney wouldn't be a lightweight if he was, if it was the day of weigh-in. Most guys wouldn't. There's just a handful of guys who would still be fighting in the weight class they actually currently hold belts in. But that's, and it's
Jimmy,
as long as they can come in within the rules, they can do whatever they want. And if they're smart, they get a nutritionist and they can really manipulate it. You can come in huge.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I totally agree with that. It should be changed, but what are you going to do? Another question I had. Do you think since this whole COVID has started, have you guys seen more fixed fights, more corruption? I certainly have. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
Well, I've seen guys unable to make weight the same way because, Steve Kim brought that up about how before these guys had access to the sauna and all that. Now all of a sudden they got their movements are restricted within the hotels and all that, so they have to bring in their own portable saunas, those things that look like sleeping bags, but in a cube form. So yeah, it could have changed that. I don't know. Well, Boxing Chief and Jimmy, what do you think? Have you seen more corruption since the?
I have, but that could be me.
It depends on what do you mean by corruption? Like thrown fights? And see, I don't. The fixed fight thing, unless there's unless there's real evidence, I just won't go down that route. I wouldn't put that on people. But bad decisions, I don't know. It's pretty much been across the board. I don't think we've had as many fights. Yeah. But I you know what I mean. It would just be a guess. I can't say that I know of any corruption to speak of.
Dropped off for a second because the speaker went out. I'm not following the question. What's going on this one?
No, it was just his question was whether we've seen more corruption since the pandemic started. But like Jimmy said, it's a bit of a... Well, Michael, you clarify. What do you mean? Like, what have you seen?
Just ring IQ, and I kind of agree. To an extent, the whole Fury Wilder thing stinks. And he was under the impression it was fixed. And I'm not so sure the fight itself was fixed, but that they had this planned out.
Well, listen, there's people
far
out there.
as-
There's people out there that believe Canelo fights are all fixed, that his opponents are paid not to try. I can certainly see that happening.
Believe that. I
well,
believe
listen,
some things about that, but not all. Not
yeah,
all,
I
no.
disagree with that because I haven't seen.
Fight. I don't believe. I believe he could beat Kovalev. That's not my problem. I just found it strange. Not that he could beat him, but I just thought the guy laid for him. Not
Well,
that
listen,
he
I'll tell you
beat him.
this.
That's
I'll
the
tell you
difference
this.
between me and.
I think there's a lot of corruption in boxing. Anything's possible, but I need to see proof.
Exactly.
Not just subjective stuff like, well, this happened. Look at how he fought. Look, I need a little bit more.
know.
A little bit more. By the way, listen, Michael,
You know
we're
what?
gonna move on.
You know why I'm jaded, BD? I'm jaded because I've been in the back locker rooms of WWE and I've seen so much. I just been around that bullshit like forever. I want to know when I'm watching something that I'm not being fooled, and I just want to. You know what I'm saying?
I
want
get
to
you.
see
I
real
get you.
competition.
Yeah, you don't want to be jaded.
I'm not one of those fans who say when my guy wins, if I favor a certain guy, if I know he lost, I say it. I don't like a guy that wins and celebrates, even though I know there's too many fans, and they're usually in their 20s or younger. Stuff like that.
A la Andre Ward.
Yeah,
like the way Andre Ward did
Yeah,
after
yeah,
the
exactly.
first
There you
Kovalev
go.
fight.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Michael, we got to move
And
on. Michael,
lastly, I just want to apologize that I couldn't send you a super chat. My freaking
don't worry about.
car is
Listen,
the one that did.
you don't got to
It got
apologize.
eaten up by
You don't got to apologize for
the
nothing.
European. They call them multi-banks here.
You don't got to apologize
But,
for nothing, Michael. Michael,
that's
you don't got
about
to
it,
apologize. All right, you don't got to apologize for not saying super. We don't. Yeah, there's not demanded. The most important thing is that you continue to support us the way you do by listening and by spreading the BDA gospel. That's the most important thing, man.
Oh,
So
I
shout out to
do.
you, Michael.
If Recognized is on, I just want to say big ups. I saw part of his channel, but I also saw the Second Renaissance. Both him and Jimmy, very educated on the topics you guys had.
Absolutely.
Just wanted
There's
to
no
say
denying that.
props to you guys on that.
That's right. Oh yeah, those
All
guys are
right,
on
fellas.
point.
Thank you.
Take it easy, man. Shout out to Michael Poe and shout out to hold on, somebody else donated. Tony Boswell for his contribution. His via the super chat says much respect to the BDA and the panel. I really think Haney needs to step back and learn how to gain power in his punches while he's still young. That's my opinion. Well, shout out to you, Tony, and I completely agree. I think power can still be improved upon. It's not a. I don't believe that a leopard can change his spots, especially at 22 years old. So that's my take on this. Let's go to another phone call real quick. Let's go to 424. 424, you're on the air. 424, what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. What's going on, man? Unbelievable fight last night. And, I think the whole power thing, if he wouldn't have landed that one shot, that lucky shot, we'll be saying this is a world-class performance by Haney. Okay? Now, maybe he doesn't, throw power with all his shots because, it may throw off his defense a little bit, because he does, see a lot of punches coming. So if he sails out on every punch, that's wrong. He might feels like he might, get hit a lot. They traded it. I think the left hook was like the most, he got hit with the left hook, almost simultaneously. They kind of was both throwing the hook, and he ate those shots, pretty nicely. So, he's a champion. He's ready for, undisputed. He's telling you what he's ready for. I'm ready for undisputed. This is boxing.
I'm with you, caller, but I gotta rewind and with the whole when you said if he wouldn't gotten caught, he did get caught. That's why how if we say, well, if Lomachenko would have
he got caught. No, I'm saying he got caught. When I'm saying he got caught, but I'm saying throughout the fight he was getting caught. But if he wouldn't have got caught in the 10th round and wobbled back to the corner, if that shot wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't be talking about the times he ate those left hooks early in the round.
Yeah, listen, he took some good left hooks and a couple of right hands, but that right hand that he took in that 10th round, it affected him for the rest of the fight. So you gotta wonder,
right?
This is
right.
important.
I think it affected him.
And
just
it
like it would affect
shot.
anybody. When Teal got hit in that same 10th round with Lomachenko, he got beat the hell up. It affected him too.
But
everybody gets hit.
Caller.
It's going to affect him. Like my
There's
thing was, he was when he clinched in.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I want to respond when he's done.
When
I
he
want to hear
clinched,
caller's comment.
Okay, go ahead, caller.
Yeah, when he clinched, like it was like a weak clinch, you know. So it was like, okay, he's clinching, but it's not really like I'm holding on for dear life. He was just kind of holding on, like, you know what I mean? It was like kind of weak. I would have liked him to kind of, you know, hold on and then throw some punches on the inside, you know, but he didn't do that. But as he kind of recovered a little bit towards the end of the 10th round and the 11th round, he was throwing punches. He was actually throwing punches and landing punches. And his work ethic is so unbelievable. It's just like Linares said after the fight. He was like, I was just gassed, basically. You know, he couldn't really capitalize on the shot that he threw because he was just gassed. And that's what Haney does to you. He's going to make you use all of your energy to try to knock his ass out, to where by the time if you do catch a shot, you're going to be so much out of gas, you're not going to be able to have the stamina to do it.
Okay, well, let Boxing Chief respond to that. It also some good points there. Let Boxing Chief, go ahead. You want to add something to that?
So first of all, that was very well analyzed. Even though I'm going to disagree with you on some of this, very well analyzed and very well put. So I want to put that out there first. But we're also talking about it wasn't an accidental shot. It was well placed. It wasn't on the chin, and it still staggered him. It was against a former featherweight who's 35 years old, and it was against a former featherweight that has been knocked out 5 times prior to, I can't stress that enough, that he couldn't hurt. So that's the reason why there's certain questions left to this. We're not saying he didn't do a good performance, because he did. His athleticism was there. His accuracy was there. His speed was there. Does he have world-class power? If he doesn't, what's he going to do in the future against guys like Lopez, who, by the way, was not thrown off for the rest of the entire fight when Loma did hit him back? It may have thrown him off a few rounds, but Lopez closed the show in that fight. That's how he won. This altered.
I wouldn't say he closed the show.
I'm almost done.
He won the 12th round.
I'm almost done.
He won the 12th round.
Call it. Hold on. He's going to let you.
I'm almost done. You're not giving me a chance. If this was a 15-round fight, how much more would that have altered the fight? That's a legitimate question. Please, your response.
You mean in the TO fight?
Yeah, Boxing Chief is saying that. Boxing Chief is saying.
About the. Go ahead.
Yeah, Boxing Chief is saying that in the Lopez versus Lomachenko, he got thrown off when Lomachenko amped up the attack, but then he came back in the 12th, so he was able to find another gear. Haney, he was affected for the last rounds, and he wasn't able to come back. He was clinching his way to the final bell. So what's he gonna do if he gets in trouble against Lopez in the mid-fight?
Okay, but you would agree, right? You would agree that after that, in those rounds where you say he was clinching, that he got hit with some more shots prior to that, right? He did get hit cleanly after that. You know that, right? He got hit with some shots in the 11th and 12th round. You know that, right? Cleanly.
Yeah, and he clinched after he was hit, and most of those times.
Okay.
He also
the way y'all talking, he was so hurt to where he couldn't get hit. If he would have got hit with 1 or 2 good shots, he would have been down. That's
I don't.
That's not what anybody said.
I certainly didn't say that. My thing is this, and I think Boxing Chief outlined it perfectly. What happens if he gets caught against Lopez in the middle of the fight in the 6th, 5th round? Maybe it takes him. Maybe let's say he takes 3 rounds off, and he's able to come back later. But those are 3 rounds that he's gonna lose. He cannot come back and knock Lopez out. He hasn't shown that type of punching power. So look, with Haney, I outlined this in the beginning of the podcast. I like his skills. The guy can fight inside, outside. He's got a very good jab, which is, by the way, Lopez's Achilles heel. The guy does not respond well to jabs, and Haney has a very good jab. But on the other side of that coin,
he got the best jab,
yeah. But on the other side of that coin color, right now. So let's forget about the Linares fight, because we've mentioned a lot about that. But now let's get to the Lopez fight. Who would you pick right now between Haney and Lopez?
I got Devin Haney all day, and that's not me being biased. I like Teal. You know, I just think that he's not. I don't think he has enough volume to beat Devin. I just don't think he has enough volume. And you know, the way he was fighting against Lomachenko, you know, with the kind of Philly stance, you know, you're not going to fight like that against Haney and think you're just going to, you know what I mean, just kind of like, you know, block punches and counter with one shot. That's not going to happen. And I think they know each other a little bit, you know.
Do you think
Linares,
he beats Lomachenko,
you know, he didn't really know Linares, you know, too well.
Do you think he beats Lomachenko too?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he beats. I think it'd be a harder fight for Lomachenko, for him and Lomachenko, than it would be for Lopez. I think it'd be easier for him to beat Lopez than it will be for Lomachenko.
Oh, that's an interesting take right there. Well, caller, I will say this, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lomachenko didn't fight in the first half of that fight. He didn't throw any punches. That's not typical. You know, I mean, it was clearly something. It was clearly something off. You know, and then with the way he was throwing punches later in that fight. Tio showed a lot of heart, coming back, but he was so far ahead that, you better fight in that 12th round. That was the best fight, that showed me a lot in the 12th round. Tio, it had me up jumping out of my seat like, yeah, Tio, because he really was like, I'm winning this fight and I'm not going to lose it. That's really what it came down to,
That reinforces my point.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Is that he came back against Loma. Loma did start piecing him, but it didn't throw him off. Whereas, given it happened in the 10th round, but it affected Haney's performance the rest of the fight. He lost all 3 of those rounds, regardless of if he threw punches back or not. He lost them because he was shaking.
But his stamina was already used up in the third round. In the third round, he's going to be fresh still. I think Devin Haney's got an excellent chin.
No, I wouldn't say excellent, man. I wouldn't say excellent.
Well, you can't say excellent when you're wobbled by...
He's never been down. He's never been down. He's never been down.
No, but he was hurt. He was hurt in one... But caller, he was hurt one round and he couldn't recover 2 rounds later. He had to clinch his way to the final bell.
The whole 11th.
I mean, that's a little suspect, man. That's a little suspect.
I don't think so. I think he won those last 2 rounds.
Clinching so much, the
crowd
he
won those last 2 rounds.
Listen, if I order a salad and I find a pube in it, I'm not going to go, well, the salad still looks good. No, the salad's ruined. And that's just a little bit the same thing that happened here with Haney. He was offering us a good salad, olive oil and the whole thing there, and then all of a sudden there's a pube there. And that was
a pube in it.
There was the last 3 rounds.
He just didn't want to get caught. Linares he had enough power to probably put him down. He just didn't want to get caught. That's it. Just professional ranks. You got a lot on the line. You got your girlfriend in the audience. You got this, you got that. You got your father in the corner. You don't want to get embarrassed. You're gonna be cautious.
Boxing Chief,
you want to fight, you're gonna be cautious.
Boxing Chief, what you say?
Styles make fights, and I think he beats Tio. But Tio says he's ready. I want to see the fight.
All right, yeah. Boxing Chief, what did you say?
Jimmy wants to respond.
All right, Jimmy, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, listen, Haney's a talented kid, great athleticism. He was doing well. Linares, I mean, let's be honest. He's been through a lot of fucking wars. He said he had a good camp. He's not a heavy puncher. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If he wasn't the house fighter, meaning that's the one that the zone has the money on Haney, they're the ones who want to win, I can't see how he didn't have a point deducted. That 11th round, he came out with 0 intentions of fighting. He came out and hung on that round for dear life. There was no ifs, ands. He wasn't doing anything other than holding on for dear life that whole round.
The clinch was so weak.
Can I listen, brother? Listen, how was bro? You talk, I talk. All right, that's all. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't talk over you, so I'm just saying he held on for dear life. The crowd, an American crowd, was booing. Even Stephen, a lot of people who are pro Haney all the way said it's not a good look when your home crowd is booing you because you're hanging on like that. He did. He was really, really hurt. Make no mistake about it. That kid, legs weren't, he never recouped all the way to the end of the fight. But because he built up enough rounds, I'm just saying, coming out of that fight, I wouldn't be confident that he beats Lopez because Lopez cracks a hell of a lot harder than Linares. And if Linares' punch puts you on Queer Street for 3 rounds, what will Lopez do? Even Lomachenko hits harder. So I'm just saying, coming out of that fight, everything was answered. Yes, he still has the speed, the athleticism, probably one of the better jabbers in boxing. Kid's talented, don't take nothing away from him, but his chin is suspect, and the kid don't crack. That's fucking, that was there for everybody to see last night.
Well, I agree with you with that. My only counter, to that would be, like somebody said, Haney doesn't have heart. He's the only one that's willing to take these fights. Now, if they don't want to fight him, we'll never know the answers to those questions, right? So in order to get the answers to those questions, in order to make the big fights, in order to see what would happen in this, what would happen scenario, let's make the fight. And the one thing I do know, Devin Haney wants to make these fights, and he does have the belt. He is a champion, so there's really nothing else really to say about that. You know,
Well, can
I'm not
I
gonna
ask you a
take too many
question,
chances
caller?
getting
Then
beat
why did it take
by
him so
John
long to
Doe.
fight a
You
top
know,
10 opponent? I'm just asking. I'm asking you a
I
serious
didn't hear you.
question. It's not a gotcha moment, but look at Josh Taylor. Look at his resume, the names, the people he's fought. You look at Haney, kid had almost 30 fights before he fought a live body. So if he was looking to fight all these guys, why did it take him so long? And Linares, 30 fights almost into his career, was the first person of note he fought.
No, I mean, we don't know the answer to that. We know that he's ready to sign the dotted line. As far as what I see, as far as from the outside looking in, it seems like everybody else is not willing to fight him, now. But now that he done got hit and cracked, everybody's making these comments, oh yeah, I would have knocked him out, Garcia, go sit down somewhere. You didn't want to fight him. Now all of a sudden you think, I would have knocked him out. And Lopez, he's been talking. We don't know if Lopez is telling the truth or if he's lying. He's saying he want to fight, but then he doesn't. I ain't got time to go for that.
Yeah, caller, I agree. Hold on, caller.
But going by that philosophy,
hold on,
fellas, Haney,
fellas,
because
hold
he
on,
hasn't sent any offers out to these guys.
Yeah, hold on.
So
Boxing Chief, the caller said he doesn't want to get into that because we're gonna be here all night, and I agree. I don't want to go into the whole negotiating thing because that's it. You can find all sorts of evidence. You can find all sorts of evidence out there and try to piece everything together. The bottom line is we're judging boxing skills right now. What happened in the ring? Now, caller, we got to move on. Caller, we got to move on, but you brought up some good points. And look, I want to see Haney, Lopez, but I don't know if Lopez can make 135 anymore. After the kombucha fight, he might move up and fight Taylor or something. Or even, we don't even know if he's going to be able to fight afterwards because he pissed off Top Rank.
That's because he's so happy that he beat Lomachenko. He's eating all his ice cream.
Exactly, yeah. He's done. He finished his career now. Yeah, he doesn't have to do anything else in his mind. But anyway, listen, caller, thank you for your call. Thank you for your call, man. We'll catch you in the next one. All right, man. Call back next time.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling.
Have a good one.
Take it easy. You too, man. Take it easy. Listen, he brought up some good points. I mean, that's why I'm trying not to criticize Haney too much. That's why I give him credit for the 9-10. Right. And by the way, the salad comment that I made, which was very uncouth, by the way. It's not a relevant thing because you can look good for 10 rounds and okay, you got caught, but at least he didn't stagger his way for the last 3 rounds. He didn't pull Manuel Lopez. Remember that against Matagua where he was like a drunk. He was lucky to get out of that fight. So the only reason why I think people are giving him a lot of flack, Haney, that is because his fans and Haney himself and his father and all that. They propped him up as if he's this invincible guy. And look, when you call yourself the boogeyman, you cannot afford to have this type of uneventful performances. Because look, it's 2 in a row now. It's 2 in a row, right, fellas? Gamboa and now Linares, 2 old guys that have been stopped before, and this guy couldn't pull the trigger. So, what do you want from me?
2 old, smaller guys. I don't think he ever even rocked him. Sorry,
he didn't.
Chief, go.
He didn't. No, it's okay. 2 older, smaller guys, one of who was shot. And proven that in the tank fight in his last fight prior to Haney, and this guy who's been stopped again. I'm going to say it again. I'll keep saying it until people understand this. 5 times prior to every loss was a stoppage, and you couldn't even shake him. So it's not the bad performance. And I know we're going to get to some calls. I'm going to make this quick. It's not.
No, go ahead. Take your time.
Anything along the lines. We don't think he has athleticism. It's the power. It's the power. We're going to hit that a lot tonight. I am. So if you want to question me on that, 5 times.
Can I make a point after, Chief?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, take your time, fellas. Take your time. Don't rush.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. So I went on Twitter like I usually do just to see what's going on. And like you said, BDA, that was an excellent point. It's his fans. Some of his fans, not this caller. He actually made good points, and I liked how he was open, and he was having a conversation about it. Some of these guys are like, oh, you ought to, well, hey, he dropped Lomachenko. Yeah, at least he didn't get dropped. And that's so disingenuous because the difference is it's comparing what happened to an off-balance flash knockdown to a fucking dude who's been rocked to the point where he spent the next round holding on for dear life. It's like comparing a fucking paper cut to a Colombian necktie. Lomachenko wasn't hurt. That was a flash off-balance knockdown. Jumped right up. His eyes never. He was never shook. He walked back to that round. He was drunk walking. You know what I'm saying? Walked back to his corner. So he was legitimately hurt. And it's, so that aggravates me when they start when people be disingenuous about it. Anyways, that was my thing.
That's why I like when people call in and they actually mention technique and what we saw in the ring, as opposed to, just a very ambiguous point. Well, he got dropped and this guy didn't, so at least blah blah blah. It's like, all right, but you're missing the point here about that he did the stanky leg 3 rounds and and he never actually recovered. I mean, when I say recovered, like I said, he wasn't drunk off his ass for the last 3 rounds, but he was clenching a lot. He stopped essentially trying to fight back. So
shocking they didn't get a fucking point taken away. It was that bad.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not supposed to be able to do that. A clinch is like punching someone in the back of the head. You're supposed to be warned. You're not supposed to just walk up and clinch somebody. I mean, he was literally running at him and just clinching him through the whole round. It was Linares. That's when I knew he was shot. I said, okay, he's got nothing left. Nothing left. The fact that, listen, Linares throws some of the most beautiful buttery silk combinations, right? Always has. That's his thing. Never been known as a great finisher when he gets somebody hurt. You know what I mean? That's just not his thing, and especially late in the rounds like that. And he admitted after in the press conference that he was spent, because if he had even a little finishing power and a little, Haney wasn't getting out of that 11th round. No way.
Well, by the way, there's a guy in the chat says Ryan McRae says you're supposed to clinch when you need to, but that's precisely the thing. So what was he? Was he hurt or wasn't he hurt? But that's the thing. Was he hurt then or wasn't he hurt? You know what I mean? Because if you're saying, he had to clinch. Go ahead, Box Chief. Go ahead.
But clinching has been allowed. It's the number 3 foul on the Marquess of Queensberry rules. Excessive holding and clinching in wrestling. It is a foul. It is a foul. Ryan McRae, this is a foul. And people have been allowed to get away with it over the years as a way of survival and protecting yourself. But it is not within the rules by any way, shape, or form in any organization or sanctioning body. So the fact that he excessively did it.
Yeah, and clinching at the end of an inside fighting like that, Chief, right? Where like you're banging each other, boom, and you clinch up. That's a huge difference than running out the bell range and meet in the middle of the round and you just dive at the dude before any punches are thrown and tackling him with a hug.
That says a lot.
That's a big difference.
That says a lot.
Excessive clinching, which is what happened in that 11th round, is exactly what happened, is a foul. And if it continuously happens, it's the referee's job to do something about it. Now, Jimmy didn't have hardcore proof, but he did say along the lines that if he went to house fighter, he might have been deducted, and that's a very fair statement. The house fighter and the promoted fighter is not going to get a deduction unless it's blatantly, obviously wrong. They just don't do that against the guy. So.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, fellas, don't forget to clinch. Don't forget to clinch. Clinch. Don't forget to clinch. I said, don't forget to hit the like button. See, I'm still on the clinch here. But hey, listen, you know what? Some people just don't get the point that you guys are making. Because I remember when Zahir Rahim fought Rocky Juarez, 2 undefeated guys, right? And Zahir Rahim lost the fight, and a lot of people gave the referee flack because he took, I think, 1 or 2 points away from Rahim because he was holding behind the head with both hands and pulling them down. And people were saying, well, why did he get that point taken away? Ali did it against Joe Frazier in the second fight. And I'm thinking, well, he shouldn't have been allowed to do that, Ali, against Frazier. It's illegal. You can't get close.
Lloyd got away with doing it from Haney the entire fight. Some referees don't do it against the mainstream name A-listed promoted fighter, which Ali was in that fight, and so was Mayweather against Pacquiao. It doesn't happen.
You know what's a tell to guy? You know what's a tell to, Chief? That his mind wasn't in on the fighting. It's just not a good look when anytime a punch was to the left. I mean, from the behind his ear backwards, like he would duck down or whatever, and he would instantly turn to the ref. Hey, he's punching in the head. If as a ref, I'd say, "Shut up! It's my job. I don't need you to tell me." You know what I mean? Like he kept. But I just would. That would piss me off. I mean, how many times in the 11th round alone he's punching? Hey, and a couple of times. And one time the ref said, "No, he's not." He actually yelled, "No, he's not. Keep fighting."
Absolutely, man. You gotta be. Sometimes you gotta be curt with some of these fellas. Chris K, shout out to Chris K for his contribution with the super chat. He says Devin Huggies Haney couldn't even cut Jorge Rice Paper Skin Linares, much less wobble him. Great performance, ruined by the last 2-3 rounds. Shout out to Chris K for his contribution. Fellas, let's go to a phone call real quick here. 732, you on the air. 732, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up? What's going on, guys?
I'm doing good, man. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on something I heard one of the dudes saying. He was saying, look at Josh Taylor's resume compared to Devin Haney's resume, but Josh Taylor's like 30, 31 years old. How can you compare that to a 22-year-old kid that turned pro in Mexico when he was like 17 years old? So he had a different path than Josh Taylor, so you can't really compare the two. And in regards to the performance,
what does age have to do with it?
I thought it was age. What does age have to do with it?
Yeah.
Experience, strength.
How do you gather experience? You gather experience by fighting quality opponents. And I'm just saying, and it was only to my comment was to his that he's the one looking to fight. My thing is this: if you're the guy looking to fight all the bad guys, all the tough opponents, then why haven't you fought tough opponents your whole career? And if you actually look at his first 15 opponents, they were gimmies, no hopers, no wins, 9 losses type guys, like feast upon guys. I'm always suspect of anybody who has a padded resume, and his resume was padded to hell.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But, I'm just looking at it from, he's 22. Maybe they're just giving him time to build into his body. By the time Devin Haney's 30 years old, hopefully we're not having the discussions about his power, but maybe that's the way they were looking at it. But in regards to the fight, I thought it was a good fight. He did good. He controlled him with his jab. I really like that jab to the chest and then jab to the stomach. I really felt like he could have controlled him the whole fight just with that, but when he started getting confident, he felt like he can walk him down. That's what opened him up. He just started leaning back, and then he got caught with that right hand, and he got wobbled. And when he was fighting in the next round, of course he's going to clinch because he's trying to gain his equilibrium back, and I thought he was doing well. He was still thinking in there. He wasn't completely lost. Of course, he had to clinch because he didn't want to get hit by Linares. And but I don't know if anybody noticed that. I think maybe it was the round prior. He actually caught Linares with a good right hand to the body, and Linares was holding on. And another guy, I think he was saying it before, Devin Haney, he was headhunting too much. And a lot of these young fighters, they do that. They headhunt too much. And that's what he was doing. And if he just would have kept going to the body, I think that he would have got him out of here. Just like Lomachenko did, he got Linares out of there to the body. Devin Haney could have done the same thing, but he just got comfortable headhunting. And
well, Carl, one of the reasons why people avoid body punching with power, when you go to the body with power, you open yourself up for counter punches. And because Linares, that's his bread and butter, is his counter punching, I can understand why he was going to the body from a distance. Because you want to step inside on a counter punch and go to his body, you're asking for trouble. But you are 100% right. The most hurt Linares was from that right-hand body shot.
Yeah, but still, he was still watching out for the counter as well. He would always duck Linares coming back with the right hand, left hook after he threw that right hand to the body. Yeah, so if he just would have kept doing that, maybe throw some slips to the other side, throw some left uppercuts to the body, I think he would have gotten him out of there. But, he got comfortable with throwing the jabs, the straights, throwing those big, wide left hooks after the 1-2s. And, yeah, he got caught. But I think people are being too hard on him. If he comes back in the next fight, just uses the jab, goes to the body a little bit more consistently, everybody's going to change their opinion and start talking about how Devin Haney's this, he's that. But still a good performance. He got caught. This shit happens.
Yeah, listen, he can't let those last 3 rounds define him. Even though there's some merit to the criticism about the last 3 rounds, especially when there's other big punchers, younger punchers in the division. But at the same time, he can't go in there with that in his mind. And I don't think he's going to. I think Devin Haney he's got that competitive mindset, and he's going to move forward. He's got no choice. I mean, he's a fighter right now, top lightweight. So I think he's going to continue to try to improve. Whether he can do it or not, we're going to see. That's the beauty of boxing. We're left here in the dark wondering what's going to happen. And listen, he beat Linares, man. In the first 9.5 rounds, he pretty much did what he had to in there. So good for him, man. So, caller, thank you for your call. We're going to move on, but catch you on the next one. All right, man?
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, man. Take it easy. A good call, man. Good call. We're getting a lot of good points here, making me think about a lot of stuff, which is good here, which is good. Let's go to another phone call right off the bat here. 773. You're on the air. 773. What's on your mind?
got a lot of good calls.
Oh,
Well,
fuck.
it's time to change that. Let's see. No, I got. It's time for my contrarian take, and that is hugging Haney. They're saying hugging this, hugging that. I can't come on here and be a hypocrite because they're saying the same thing about Josh Taylor. Oh, Josh Taylor, you were hugging so much. Well, that's your problem. That's the opponent's problem. If he's hugging, he's clenching, give him a shoulder, bump him off, and make him pay. If he wants to come in and hug, then you time him when he tries to clinch, and you come in with an uppercut and you hurt him. He's clinching, he's holding. The good fighters don't allow that. If you want to come and clinch, then you're going to pay for it. So this whole clinching, hugging Haney, we know that's what he does. We know he's a point fighter, and he squeaks by decisions. We've seen that against Gamble. He does whatever it takes to win. He's going to squeak by. So that's nothing new. People are calling him boring. Oh, he's hugging this. Yeah, that's him. He's a point fighter. He likes to squeak by and win fights. So I'm not surprised that he did what it took to win and squeak by and won. But I will say this. He got rocked, and I wasn't surprised. I was surprised someone that young get hurt that bad. I don't know. When you're that young, you should be able to take shots. And he was hurt badly. He did the staggy leg. That was earlier in the fight, and Linares put it on him. Michael had got him out of there, but
well, Linares is a puncher.
He talked a lot of shit. He talked a lot of shit, and he ain't backing it up. He's another loudmouth, always talking shit, and he hasn't looked good. He got one decent win. That's Linares, 35 years old, at lightweight. That's ancient at that weight class. Anyone in there, he looks very average. So, but this is boxing where you're able to win a world title at that young age, beating nobody. What's up with that?
Well, listen, I kind of agree with the caller, but at the same time with Jimmy. Look, this guy is saying, well, he turned pro at 17. Yeah, but at the same time, he and his father are the ones that are saying that they want all that smoke, like the kids say nowadays. They want everybody. Well, then you can't use that excuse at the same time of, well, he's only 22. I mean, he says he's ready for this. You know, I was defending him when they gave him that WBC belt, and people were telling me, BDA, you can't defend the guy when he's got a belt now. He's calling himself a champion. He's not a prospect anymore. That whole thing of, well, he's still improving, it doesn't fly anymore. And I said, well, Haney and his father aren't helping matters when I'm trying to defend them, and at the same time, these guys are saying, no, we're ready, you know, we're the best. Well, if you're the best, you're certainly not showing it by being unable to stop Gamboa, guy who's already been stopped before, and Linares, who's been stopped as well a whole bunch of times before. They're smaller, they're slower, and he can't stop him. That's bad news. I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all for Haney. He can still improve, but that whole he can still improve thing, I've seen that before in other fighters, and it's not everybody that can do it. So, Kevin, anything else before we go?
Yeah, Haney's got a glass jaw. I'd knock him out. I'd knock out Haney. What a bum that is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you would, Kevin. I'm pretty sure you would. Anyway, take it easy, man. That's when he farts, he does the mouth fart, that's his cue to go. But fellas, you know, to kind of conclude here on Haney and move on to other things. With Haney, that I said that whole thing about he can still improve. He is 22, and his resume is pretty thin, so I suppose he's still learning on the job. What do you guys think? How much rope are you giving here? How much slack are you giving him after this fight?
In what way? His power? For power?
And just overall, in terms of his performance.
Well, all right. Well, power. He could get a little more power to his punches. He would just have to, put the weight up over his front foot. But there's a draw. It's a give and go, yin and yang. You add more power, you take away from defense. The more weight you place onto the front foot, the less ability you have to jump out of the back way. Remember, like I said, Saunders, he's not going to put any weight on that back foot. You know what I mean? Like when he's throwing his punch, his foot's coming up because all he was trying to do was more worried about what was coming at him. So that's the way he's learned to punch. Like if he just turned his punches over more and stood, put his weight up over his front foot, he would gain power. But there's usually a reason people don't do that. Usually it's because someone doesn't like getting punched. I didn't usually fight like that all the way. wasn't that I wasn't chinny. I just didn't like getting punched. You know what I mean? I was never stopped from the only thing that ever put me on my ass was I've been put on my ass was from body shots. I was never put down from headshots. Yeah.
Well, when you spar Mickey Ward, he's gonna get you to the body, man. Boxing chief.
Sparring's genuine. I mean, beating me up when I would spar him. That was been beating me up. Let's be honest.
Well, at least you're being honest about it. Boxing chief, any concluding thoughts on the whole Haney performance? Boxing chief, I can't hear you, man.
Yo, chief.
Chief. No. Maybe boxing chief.
Chief
Maybe
jump
out, and jump back in, man. Maybe because maybe you're having maybe it's Discord that's creating.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, my headset was off. Let me put this back in its case so it doesn't.
I don't want to hear excuses. So what's the matter with you?
And look, I don't have top line technology.
Top line technology.
So my stuff is because he turned pro so young. He has a very advanced career as far as numbers, 26 fights. But a lot of those were probably the equivalent of finishing his amateur career. So he kind of since 20 or 19. So from 19 to 22, here's where we're at of how good we think he is as a quote unquote champion / prospect. Because let's face it, he hasn't faced too many top fighters yet, even though he has a belt. There's a room for improvement. There always is. But eventually you come to a point when your body's where it's going to be, and all the physical attributes you have is what you have. Is he there yet? We don't know. Mm-hmm. One thing we do know is that 2 or 3 fights ago, Linares was stopped in 1 round. And Haney couldn't budge him. So, or he might have hurt him to the body, but he didn't buckle his legs, didn't cut his face, didn't swallow anything shut, and didn't drop him. Nor did he stop him. So the power is the power. I mean, the last 2 shot fighters he fought either went the distance or went down. No, Gamboa went the distance too, didn't he?
Yeah.
He got stopped in the 12th round by Tank Davis, not by Haney. So the last 2 shot fighters you fought both both former featherweights, and you couldn't do anything to them. So power's no longer the issue here. We know that even if he steps on the front foot, he might sting some guys. He's not knocking a lot of people out, if anybody. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to add to your game to replace that? And that's the questions we're going to have moving forward. Like Steve Kim said, he left a few more questions and didn't bring a whole lot of answers. It doesn't mean it was a terrible performance. Doesn't mean he's a bad fighter. Just means with all the talk he's been giving, we still have yet to see him back up all of it. That's all it is. Exactly. He's not bad. He's very talented. We've acknowledged that to all you guys that think we're haters. We're not. He's just leaving questions that need to be answered down the road before we're willing to bet our money on him.
That's right. And by the way, if you fellas think we're hating, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Call in. Let us have it. Do something about it. And by the way, I completely, Boxing Chief, great points. And if I just may add something to conclude that, look, people are saying, well, punching power, it's not the be-all, end-all. It's true. If you have extremely good world-class skills, and he's going to have to get that, because we don't know if he's really got those type of abilities to shut down a guy like Lopez or Garcia's power down. So we're going to have to see that in the coming years. Shout out to Viking Burial for his super chat. He says, Linares landed several clean counters on Haney. I think Teo, Tank, Ryan, multiple counters on Haney would be bad news. Yes, indeed. That's what we said earlier. It's a big interrogation point right there, Viking. Big point. Recognize the Matrix in the chat says power is a big fact. Exactly, that's what I'm trying to get at. Where he says you can improve power with the right training, but also recognize said Haney needs improvement on the power department. That's huge and will need it for bigger punchers. See, that's the thing. When people, the whole skills pay the bills crowd, look, that's what I'm saying. But you need to, if you don't have punching power, then you need extremely good skills, extremely good to be able to shut out a guy who can match your hand speed, but also has power. Exactly, yeah. There you go.
Great whiskers. And I'll tell you right now, Ryan Garcia is faster than him. He's got faster hands, without a doubt. I'd say Ryan Garcia has faster hands. It's just a question, does Haney have enough power to stop Garcia? Because if he doesn't, Garcia cracks a lot harder than that boy last night, Linares, and hits harder, hits a lot harder, and it's a better finisher. So going into last night's fight, I would have had Garcia and Haney. I wouldn't have known going in. Last night, after seeing last night's performance, because I wasn't sure if the non-power was a thing. I was expecting him to stop, obviously, Gamboa, and he didn't even rock him. Let's be honest, didn't even rock him. never mind stop him. And again last night, another dude been stopped 5 times and didn't, other than a body shot, what anybody's acceptable to. But for his whiskers, didn't even hurt Linares. Didn't cut him. So I don't think it's not even a question. Does he have to build up his power? I don't think he's even got power. I honestly don't think he's a hard puncher. So even if he brings his power up, what is he going to go from pillow fisted to decent punching? As it stands right now, I don't think that kid's got crack in his punches.
So the follow up of that, Jimmy, it's how much of a punch can Ryan take? He took a good shot against Campbell, and Campbell's above average puncher. But if he's getting these, what people think that the power that Haney may have is those really nice extended right hands when he turns the punch all the way over from an angle that Ryan Garcia doesn't see. And if this mythical punch happens, is Ryan Garcia going to be able to take it? Because he leaves his chin is not tucked. His chin is out. So it's going to be there to be hit. Is that a knockout waiting to happen? And is he the kind of fighter that's going to be able to exploit it based off of his skills and reflexes that we've all acknowledged that he has? There's the question. We don't know. But if it's a war of attrition, unless Ryan Garcia is Victor Ortiz made over and he's going to quit like he did against Maidana, then he's probably going to wear Haney down based off of what we saw last night. That's our assumption.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's my assumption. I won't speak for everybody else.
Well, listen, I mean, he did well, Haney. Just those last 3 rounds raised a lot of questions.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to mention, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit that like button. Hit the like. It really helps us out. And it only takes a couple of seconds, fellas. Let's go to a phone call here real quick, and then we'll segue into the Donaire fight, because that was another thing he stole the show last night. Hold on a second. 347, you're on the air. 347, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, man? Yeah, you're on the air, man.
Hey, okay, I wanted to talk about the Devin Haney fight.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, number one, this guy, Ryan Garcia. Didn't he get dropped?
I think you know the answer to that question, yes.
Okay, well, I don't hear the same energy, like.
Because he wasn't rocked.
Devin Haney got
There's a big
caught.
difference from
Okay,
being
he got
dropped
caught with
and
a bad
being rocked.
But hold on. I want to hear. First of all, caller, did you watch?
Really?
Caller, did you hear the show we did on the same day of Ryan Garcia versus Campbell?
We talking about now. I'm
No,
comparing
but hold on. You brought up that Campbell Garcia. You said I'm not feeling the same energy. Did you watch the post-fight show for that fight?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, then how do you know what we said about it, man? Come on, man.
The point is, if
what's the point?
This guy, if they fight each other, it's a good fight. Like, I'm no Devin Haney fan, but the fact is that the guy took a good shot, and you guys are knocking him. Like, I don't understand. Like,
so what should we do? You tell us what we should do. You tell us your opinion.
The same shot that he ate, didn't this guy got dropped from that same shot? Lomachenko?
Yes.
No.
Oh, wait a minute. What are you guys
Not
saying?
even close.
Are you saying it's not the same punch?
Comparing, this is what I said about happened on Twitter earlier. Comparing Lomachenko's knockdown, flash knockdown, off balance, feet in the wrong position, knockdown, jump up and stop a dude, compared to getting rocked to the point where you got to spend the next 2 rounds holding on for dear life. Big difference.
That's right. You guys corrected me on that.
He was running for dear life or holding on. There's a difference. He survived.
Holding on.
It's the same way this guy did when he got dropped.
And what did Lomachenko do after?
When you get hurt, you hold on to survive.
And what did,
boxing.
But hold on, caller. At 3 rounds later, he's still holding?
No. He did not hold for no 3 rounds straight. You guys are exaggerating, man.
Caller, come on, man. You're trying to be disingenuous. I'm showing a clip here. Caller, please let me finish. You're being disingenuous. Caller, you're being disingenuous, man. Come on. I'm showing a clip here on the screen of him lunging for a tackle / clinch, whatever, in the last round. Why was he doing that in the last round and in the 11 as well?
He was fighting back. dude. He was fighting back.
You
Yes,
didn't
he
answer
was
my
hurt.
question.
He was
You didn't answer my question.
2 punches in the 11th round, I think.
You didn't answer my question, caller. You're being rude
And what about
and
the
crude.
12th round?
You're being rude and crude. That's what you're doing. I said, why is he going for
Really?
that clinch?
How
Hold on. Why? I'm asking, why did he jump for that clinch in the last round?
Because he didn't want to get hurt.
So he was hurt. So he was still hurt. So he was still hurt in the last round.
Thank you for reinforcing our point.
All right, there you go. So listen, caller.
But
All we're caller.
He still
All
won
we're
the fight.
caller. All we're saying is because caller.
What's the
all
point?
we're saying, that's what I want to get to. The point. You're just looking at the things that we criticize him for. We actually gave him props.
Right.
But now, we gave him props. I give him props.
It doesn't sound like you guys are giving
obviously
him props.
But
you got
did
one
you
let him
guy.
speak,
You
caller.
agreed with a caller.
Caller. Oh my God. Caller. See, that's what this is. 2 callers in a row. 2 days in a row where we get callers who just interrupt after somebody says something. I'll let you talk, caller. Oh, listen, he's still talking. Caller, I'll let you talk once I'm done. All right, and fellas, please let him finish, and then you guys can respond to what he says. But here's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Okay, caller. Like I said about you brought up the Campbell Garcia fight, and you said you guys weren't keeping the same energy. And then I asked you, did you see that show post fight? You said no. Now you're saying it doesn't sound like we're giving Haney props. Well, you obviously didn't watch the beginning of the show when we were all talking about the good before we got to the criticism, which is what we tried to do on this show. Now, look,
okay.
Yeah, but let me just finish and I'll let you go, please. I liked a lot what Haney did in that fight, but you cannot deny the fact that him getting hurt in that 10th round and then clinching for the 11th and 12th against a guy who's 35 years old and who's been stopped before is a little suspect considering the fact that you got bigger, younger punchers like Lopez and Ryan Garcia in there. That's a big question mark right there, man. You cannot deny that, right?
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
That guy is a big puncher. If he knocked down Lomachenko with that same punch, you guys are acting like this guy can't hit.
We didn't say that.
Did he hurt Lomachenko?
Hold on, let me finish.
Did he hurt Lomachenko?
No, let him finish, Jimmy.
Okay.
I know, but let him
that
finish.
means this guy can really punch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's not like some bum. You know, the guy can really fight, regardless his age, and he still holds some power. And he caught him.
That's right. We never said the opposite. We never said that Linares can crack. But anyway, Boxing Chief, go ahead.
Okay, so caller, if you were paying attention to what we were saying earlier, we noted all the stuff that Haney did extremely well, including that jab. I'm extremely tough on him as a fan / critic due to the talking that he and his father have been doing and not backing up. And that's my opinion. You're welcome to disagree with it, but that's my opinion. My biggest problem with his performance isn't just the fact that he got hurt and got caught by a 3-time world champion in 3 different divisions who will eventually be a Hall of Famer. It's the fact that it altered his fight plan altogether to the point where he was intentionally, excessively clinching, which is a foul in boxing. That's the end of that part of that conversation for me. The other part is when Mr. BDA mentioned the fact this guy, I'm almost done, but let me finish. When he mentioned that Linares has been stopped before, he had 5 losses going into this fight. All 5 losses were by knockout, and one of them was in the first round 2 fights ago. So a young spring chicken Haney with a lot, when I mean spring chicken, I mean like a young buck who's got a lot of spring and pop. Well, when I say pop, I mean extension and athleticism behind himself, should have at least been able to hurt this man, buckle his legs, possibly drop him, because he's been dropped by people other than that. My last point on this power that you're talking about Linares having, he has 54% knockout ratio, which is above average, but his hit over Lomachenko was a straight right hand and caught Lomachenko with his feet crossed. That didn't hurt him. He was off balance. What happened last night wasn't a balanced shot. He shook him to his core, and it shook him for the last 3 rounds of the fight. Your response, please.
Okay, first of all, I definitely agree. I'm not a Devin Haney fan, okay? I don't think the guy has power, all right? Now, with that being said, this guy has tremendous skill. His hand speed, his skill, his coordination, everything is great. He's only going to get better. His chin, questionable. From last night, I have to, I got to agree with that. But the fact that he took that punch and was smart enough to hold on and not try anything else, a stupid reaction of trying to hurt the guy back, to me, says a lot about his character and how far he's going to go with this. Now,
one quick point, a counterpoint. If he wouldn't have been the house fighter on the house card, and it would have been two mano-a-mano guys that we didn't know of in a prospect situation, he could have had a point deducted or been disqualified. But he didn't because it was Devin Haney on Devin Haney's card. That's something we've pointed out.
All right, the reason.
So what you're calling smart would be enforced against a fighter
what I was
under
saying.
a
The reason why I called in because I
finish.
heard you guys. I'll let you guys speak, and
Go ahead.
All right. The reason why I called in because I heard a caller had called in and was like, "Yeah, this guy got a glass jaw. I'll knock him out." And one of you guys agreed with him, and you guys laughed like it was any one of us.
We laugh because that caller's a knucklehead, but in a good way.
But see, that's the thing.
He's a known associate. He's a known associate that we let him say that to. We weren't agreeing with him as if we thought he was telling the truth. I think you read too much into that.
That was my only beef I had. Everything else I kind of agree with. Like my guy is Steven. What's his name? Shakur Stevenson. I think him. And what's my other guy? David Benedict. David Benedict.
Mm-hmm.
I think those two we got to watch out for. But hey, I'm enjoying the show. You guys rock. That's all I wanted to say. That was my only disagreement I had with you guys with that last.
Thank you for the call.
Yeah, and by the way, just for the record, if you're going to continue listening to the show, don't pay Kevin from Chicago too much attention. In fact, try not to pay attention to him at all because he's gonna be saying some things that are gonna make you. I'm serious, man.
That guy had me pissed off, and I'm not even a Devin Haney fan. And he had me pissed off.
Take what he says with a big old grain of salt. All right, take my word for it. But anyway, listen.
And for compliments too, I said Haney's got one of the best, if not the best, jab in boxing. That's to me is a huge compliment.
Yeah, I don't really care for Haney too much.
You know what I mean?
All right, well, listen, caller, thank you for your call, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, man? Take it easy.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one. All right. What was I going to... Oh, yeah, okay. So I wanted to move on from the Donaire fight, but we got another caller, so I think he might want to bring up Haney again. So we're probably going to make this last Haney call. 443, you're on the air. 443, what's on your mind?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. The Haney fight.
Yes.
I like what I saw. I didn't see anything that really said that, he had a bad chin. He's a washed-up fighter. Come on, listen. I understand that the hype came before the fighter. He's talking about he's going to knock everybody out, but this is boxing. Every fighter sells wolf tickets. It's just a part of the game. What I see is a young man who hasn't found himself yet, but he's a very good boxer. He won that fight. I didn't see him holding on for dear life either. Of course, when you get hurt, you hold and you move, you hold and you move. That's part of the game. Because if he was holding that much, there was a referee that has better eyes than any of us. He sees everything before we do. He would have took points off. Plain and simple. If it was that bad, he would have took points away for holding. He did what he needed to do to win,
let me ask you,
and he won.
Why was the crowd booing so much? The hometown crowd.
Yeah, Jimmy's asking why did the whole hometown crowd boo Haney?
I didn't hear the entire crowd, and honestly, it doesn't sound like you were there. So how do you know every single human being in the audience was booing?
I don't have to be there to hear people booing over the freaking TV. They were booing him because he was clinching excessively in the 11th round. I think he landed two solid punches the whole round.
I mean, what kind of question is that?
Well, come on. First of all, hold on, Troy. I think it's Troy, by the way. There's
yes, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
Fantastic. Now I'm glad that you called in. No, but seriously, I mean, look, there's a little thing called cameras and television sets that allow you to watch and listen to remote parts. That's what Jimmy saw. I heard the same. His hometown fans were booing him. Now, look, that doesn't necessarily mean that Devin Haney didn't do what he was supposed to because he won. And a lot of these fans were probably pissed off because they bought those Wolf tickets and they thought that Haney was going to massacre Linares. But the point is, when it comes to the clinching, the reason why I think a lot of people are making a big deal out of the clinching was because it lasted, not only was it done throughout the fight, but in those last 3 rounds, after he got hurt, he was still clinching for time. He wasn't working on the inside anymore. He was just going for clinches straight up. So that's a little bit disconcerting, especially when you got big punchers out there like Lopez and Ryan Garcia, who are younger than Linares, by the way.
It's disconcerting to who? The people that's sitting down watching it, or the man in the ring? Because that's that's what we're speaking about, right? Obviously, it's not disconcerting to him because he understands he has to clinch, clear his head up, and then move, box, move, clinch, move, box. He basically showed that he was intelligent enough to hold on until he could clear his head, and he won on points. I don't see what the disconcern was. As far as the booing goes, can't stop people from booing. They booed Ali, they booed Tyson, fans booed. So what?
Well, that's when you say you're not worried about the being hurt, he should be worried because how is he going to react?
I did not say that.
I know, but I'm saying is, look,
I said I wasn't worried about the booing.
Okay, the booing. But what I'm saying, okay, so you are worried about him being caught in the 10th and then having to clinch his way to the final bell even in the 12th round.
Absolutely not.
All right. Well, I don't know what else to tell you, Troy. I don't know what else to tell you.
No. Can I say something, BDA? And it wasn't like
that's a part of the sport,
he described it as punching, clinching, clearing his head. No, he came out in the 11th round and held on for dear life. He didn't try to fight. He didn't try to engage. He did nothing but grab the dude in the middle. The 3 guys he was seeing lunged at him and held on until the bell. And then he got his head a little more cleared. And if it was a ref who wasn't told and didn't know in the back of his mind he's the house fighter, he would have at least taken a point off him for extensive clinching. I don't know.
Yes, sir. I don't know your name. So you're saying that he held for the whole 3 minutes of the last 2 rounds?
The whole 3 minutes. The 11th round, the whole round he held.
Except for when the ref broke. I didn't see that, and I saw the entire fight. I saw the entire fight. I didn't see him hold for 3 minutes. Now, if he held for 3 minutes, obviously the ref wouldn't have no choice but to take a fight. Come on. I mean to take a point.
Okay,
come on now,
Jimmy. He's taking you literal when he wants to. So
he warned him 3 times in that round to stop clinching, and I don't know, okay, how many times are you going to warn him to stop clinching before you pull a point? My point is, he came out in the 11th round with no intentions of fighting. It was one thing is to clinch, and that was all he did in that 11th round.
What are you doing in the 12th round?
He clinched in the 12th too. We got footage of it.
Hey, Troy,
back up.
Yeah, check out this clip. Watch the screen here of our stream. No, hold on, that's not it. That's when he got hurt. I don't want to watch that anymore. Look at this. I mean, what is he trying to do in there? It's the 12th round. Why is he having to go in for a half a tackle, half a clinch in there that way? He didn't even throw a punch. He didn't even set up with a feint. He just barged forward.
The only way this is going to work is unless you show the whole round.
It looks like he's trying to suck his dick. It looks like he's trying to. It looks like he's trying to suck his dick. Now I don't know. Maybe you want to
show the entire round. That's not all that he did, right?
Well, he did different types of clinching. He did the different types of clinching. That's for sure. Now maybe you're into that type of thing.
Okay, but you keep showing the same clip is on repeat, brother.
Well, you want me to show the whole fight and get us taken down? It's not going to work, Troy. I know you want us taken down, but you're not going to take us down, baby. We're here to stay. So
I'm not taking you down, but you're showing a clip from a portion of a round where he's holding, but the entire round was not that. Just like the entire round prior to that was not him holding for 3 minutes.
I'll tell you what I'll do for you. I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I do for you. I'll tell you what I'll do for you, Troy boy. I will make a compilation of all the clinching that he did throughout the fight, and hopefully,
tell you what you can do for me, right? No, seriously, what are you doing tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
I gotta go to church at that time. Late night session.
No, serious. I'm serious. I'm serious now. Huh?
Oh, now you're saying I'm kidding. All right. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man.
No, I'm watching the 11th round right now.
Church at 9:30 p.m. tomorrow.
He didn't make any attempt to fight.
Why don't you come over? Okay, but listen, hear me out. Why don't you come over to Major Keys Boxing after we finish our interviews? We're gonna talk about the Haney fight, and we can finish the discussion there. Major Keys Boxing tomorrow at 9:30 p.m.
I'll see if I can make it. Like I said, I'm busy at 9:30 at night. Yes, indeed. People call me a trampire
What,
for a
is
reason.
he challenging us to meet him at his gym?
No, not at his gym. It's Major Key. It's
He's breaking up on me. He's breaking up on me. So I
Major
couldn't hear
Keys
everything he
Boxing
was
is a
saying.
podcast.
Yeah, no, that's what it sounded like to me too. 'Cause he's
No,
breaking
no,
up.
no. Major Key Boxing. Yeah, because Troy, you're breaking up for these guys. But yeah, he's inviting one of us to the Major Key Boxing, which is a podcast. It's a good one. So, listen,
okay.
Troy, I don't know if I'll make it, but I'll do a compilation, and you can watch it, and you can agree or disagree with it, and then later maybe you can say that I doctored it or something. But listen, Troy, we gotta move on. We're gonna talk about Nonito
Well, one thing,
Donaire.
BDA, real quick. Troy, is that
Hold on,
if you
hold on.
can on Discord leave your information. I'd love to get on your show and talk some boxing with you anytime you want.
He hung up because we caught him as he was hanging up. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah, listen. Shout out to Iceman for his contribution. He says BDA and he put some laughing icons there. Yeah, listen. I mean, the whole thing is he's going in there for the clinch, and he's saying, "Well, you got to show me the whole round." I can't show you the whole round here, otherwise we get taken down, man. Come on. But anyway, listen. I've had enough of this whole.
Yeah, it's a copyright violation.
And a big one at that. But look, I think the Haney thing, we keep an eye on him, see what happens. He won. That's the most important thing. Now let's see what happens if he's able to get Teofimo Lopez in the ring there, or even Ryan Garcia. But again, just to shit on the whole four queens there, this is what's going on. They talked a big game. And although Lopez delivered by fighting and beating Lomachenko, now he's fighting Kombucha. He threw a Top Rank under the bus, so who knows what's going to happen with him in the future. And he's probably moving up to 140 as well. Then you got Ryan Garcia, who says he's got mental issues. Then the next thing you know, he's in the beach making porn movies. Then you got Devin Haney, who keeps talking about how he's the best, but he can't knock out two old senior citizens. And Tank Davis is moving up to 140. So, I mean, it's go ahead.
Well, as I say, yeah, and what I don't like too is his constant fight. Well, what I did compared to everybody else, like he did that. Remember at the end of Gambaro, he did that. I'm the only fighter who never got touched, but he changed. At first, he was saying, "Oh man, I tried to stop him, but I couldn't." But when he saw he was catching a lot of shit on social media, because that's his problem with a lot of young fighters, too much into the social media, he changed his tune to, "I was just doing that on purpose because I wanted to show that he could not put his gloves on me." But and then the end of this, well, compared to everybody else, no, dude, compared to nobody, dude. Lomachenko got up from a flash knockdown and stopped him. You didn't go down, but then you were rocked. I mean, listen, he lost the fucking on the judges' cards, I think, both the last two rounds. In that 11th round, I think he landed 2 punches, if I can remember correctly, with nothing on them, because he was rocked. Anybody denying that kid was on fucking Bambi legs in the 11th round is lying to themselves.
Yeah, it seems like people don't want to accept the facts, man. I mean, look, this guy was clinching. He wants to. Then he takes it literally. The whole fight he was clinching. Well, he clinched more than he punched in the last 3 rounds. How about that? That's not a good look when he's got real punchers like Lopez and Garcia in there. But look, moving on from this Haney thing, we already spent 2 hours on it. I wanted to move on now to Nonito Donaire. What about this guy, right?
And future Hall of Famer, first ballot, Nonito Donaire.
Well, you know what? Listen, he ends up stopping Oubaali, undefeated, in the 4th round. Just an all-out destruction. I mean, he looked like the Donaire who was knocking out Darchinian and Montiel more than 10 years ago. And now look, nobody's going to say Oubaali's Pernell Whitaker or Willie Pep in there. But he was a guy that was on a good run, undefeated. Fought some decent.
Never been down.
He'd never been down. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was never down in his professional or amateur career, according to his people. So that's a big deal. And to me, what that fight did last night, it kind of silenced a lot of the people. Remember, because a lot of the Inoue haters were, big deal. He beat an old freaking Donaire. An old Donaire. Well, I think that kind of put that narrative in a whole new light last night.
Yeah, man, that's true though. Donaire is still, the power's still there, man. He's very dangerous because not only now does he still have some of that speed and power left over from his prime, but on top of that, he's got experience, and he seems to be hunting guys down better than before. He's not just going for broke with that left hook all the time. He's setting it up in a much more secure manner. By the way,
he's a good guy too.
Yeah,
I like him. Donaire's seems like a good human.
Ryan McRae said that he doesn't think that Donaire can beat Rigo because he didn't beat him before. I'm guessing that's why I said that. I'd be willing to take that bet this time.
Well, maybe, man. I mean, I don't know if that fight happens. I don't know if Rigo gets past Casimero. I can see that fight going both ways. But man, Donaire, man. By the way, you got Gonzalo on the Discord. Gonzalo, you there?
Hey, how's it going, Mr. PDA?
Doing well, man. I hope you're doing well as well. And we're talking about Donaire now, and his big win over Oubaali. What, did you manage to catch that one or?
I caught the knockout. I was watching the Devin Haney, Jorge Linares fight, and I was switching from one to the other. And I caught the knockout.
Right. Well, what a knockout it was, especially this second knockdown. See, that's a problem with guys like Oubaali. I know he was already hurt from the first knockdown, but they're not used to exchanging. Because look at that, his right hand, just boom, down there, and he's open. He got Darchinian right there with that left hook. And Donaire, what I liked about him was he walked him down. He wasn't like against Frampton, all these guys, where he's walking forward, but he's not really cutting off the exit avenues, and he tends to swing a lot. This time he was mixing that right hand there a lot more, and the crowd was lit, man. They were all rooting for Nonito Donaire because, like Jimmy said, he's one of the nicest guys out there in boxing, and he's sort of making a comeback now. At how old is he? 37, 38?
I believe 37.
Jeez. You know, these guys...
Oldest person in boxing to win that title.
No kidding.
Yep, he broke a record last night. Young guys in that weight class, for some reason, they age quick. And he bet the odds because just because of his age. Yeah, he broke a record last night.
BDA, according to BoxRec, he's 38 years old.
Whoa. And like
that's old in any division.
Like Jimmy said, especially in the lower weight divisions. And it's also interesting the way he was able to go back to 118, which is really where he's shown in 2011. I mean, can you believe this guy was at 126 at one point, fighting guys like fucking Nicholas Walters, and he still managed to hurt Walters in that fight, by the way.
Yep.
I mean, that is insane.
I personally believe he wouldn't have lost any. I don't know about to annoy if he never would have left bantamweight, but if he never would have moved up to 122 or anything else, I don't think he ever would have lost. I think he would have just been piling up win after his record with wins would be over 60 wins by now. What's his record? It's currently 47 wins. I think he would have just cleaned that house and would have broken Orlando Canizales' record of 16 title defenses and just would have ruled it. I don't think anyone could have beaten him down there.
Well, he lost to Rigondeaux 118, right?
122.
Oh, 122. Well, listen, even if 118, 122, I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. That's my opinion. I don't think he would have been able to beat that version of Rigondeaux because at that time, Donaire just, like I said, a little bit too left hook happy. And
agreed. But something that I like to say is, look at Wilfredo Gomez. Could knock anybody out at 122. Went up to 130. Went up to 126 and 130. Couldn't knock anybody out.
That's true.
Those weights, sometimes they just don't carry everything. I think that Donaire had every individual tool to beat Rigondeaux there. I didn't think he could pull the tools together at that weight to beat Rigondeaux. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Individual tools. He had what he could take. Like he had the jab, he had the hook, he had good footwork. But I don't think he could do it all together to beat Rigondeaux. And Rigondeaux
was partying at that time too, dude. I heard that he was like a lot of guys. You know what I mean? They get the money, they become champions. Their first time in their life, they've had. They have wealth, and it's sometimes they lose that edge. And if you start eating wrong, drinking wrong, and he's rejuvenated himself. Now he's into supplements, working out. He stopped the partying, and he even alluded to that last night, saying, "I believe the human body is just fascinating. You can do, you can push it to limits." So he realized as you get older, if you treat your body right, you can't treat it like a fucking 24-hour rave, and then go in and box. There's very few guys who could. Hector Camacho is one of the only guys I know of who could be shit-faced doing rails the night before and then put in a great performance the next night.
You know what, man?
What that Rigondeaux did do, he understood that
Gonzalo, you're breaking up and you're very low, man. You're breaking up and you sound very low, yeah.
Nonito Donaire did do, and he understood that he needed to take away. Correction. That Rigondeaux needed to do. He needed to take away Donaire's left hand. And that's what he did. Negative fighter, hard to fight. It's El Chacal. He pounces on you once he's got you hurt, but until he does that, he's just gonna be very negative and only wait for the opportunity. And he took away Donaire's left hand, but now that his legs are gone, it'd be hard for him to beat him, I think.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Gonzalo. Because Rigondeaux, the reason why I thought a lot of the people on our channel when we started were picking Lomachenko to just run through Rigondeaux. And one of the things I thought was going to make things difficult for Lomachenko was the fact that Rigondeaux can shut the fight off. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll win, but it means that with his defense, he can just kill the action. And when he was in his as close to his prime as he'll ever be back in 2013. He had that left. He's a big puncher, man. That's why Casimiro's got to watch out. And against Donaire, Donaire respected that power, man. And so that's what happened in that fight. But still, Donaire still had that weak point because Carl Frampton outboxed him, Magdaleno outboxed him, Walters was outboxing with the jab and wearing him down before he stopped him. So there is that ability to outbox him. But Oubaali, we're talking about tools. He just did not have the tools to keep Donaire off of him. And you saw those clips that I was showing, exchanging with his hands down, the right hand down. He was just way open for that left hook, and Donaire set him up beautifully for it. But now the question is, Butch is asking a good question then, how good is Inoue then? Because he took some major shots from Donaire, but he also gave some back.
Unbelievably good,
right.
My opinion. I got him the best right now. I've had him the best for a while.
Arguably the best number one, given the inactivity of 2020, arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world today. Arguably.
Yes,
Jeez.
I'd agree.
Well, not the commercial victories that Canelo has, and that's probably what's holding him back on some people's pound-for-pound lists.
It depends on how you count. Yeah, we count commercial, by American standards. You go to Japan, he has millions of people watching his fights. His last fight, what was it? I think it was 18 million people tuned in for it. In Japan,
yeah, Jimmy, I'm talking about household names to check off.
No, exactly. No, I know. I'm just saying, but we're looking at it from the American perspective. I'm sure if it was Japanese people would say, "What are you talking about? He gets a ton." You know what I mean? That's all.
Oh yeah, I know.
And I do it myself. I tend to put what people do in America. It's taken me a while to realize how truly global the sport has gone.
But you know what? Also, I wanted to say it's not just how Inoue. Because look, I was an Inoue skeptic before the Donaire fight because he was running through these guys. But we've seen guys like Golovkin and all that. They can run through a guy. But then you go, okay, but if somebody can take their punch, what's Plan B? And Inoue showed Plan B against Donaire. And by the way, let's not forget, he could have stopped Donaire. The ref stepped in when Donaire was running away after the body shot, and the ref stepped in front of Inoue. And that created some extra time. So that could have been a TKO KO for Inoue.
And didn't Inoue have also a broken auricle bone or a jaw or something too?
I think the orbital,
fighting.
yeah. It was...
Yeah, orbital bone, and he kept fighting. So, tough as nails. He's got lightning quick hands. His accuracy is incredible, and his punching power is incredible. So, yeah, that was the reason why I rated him like that.
So I guess the question too, like Gonzalo asked that question on Discord last night after the fight, is how like a Donaire Inoue rematch, is that something you guys would be interested in, or?
I would be interested only because, but I don't know. I think there's other people who could be out there and fighting Inoue, but it's going to be hard because remember, Donaire is now with the PBC, so he's an in-house fighter. That means he has to fight PBC guys.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
And Inoue is with Bob Arum, who PBC doesn't like to work with. Let me rephrase. It appears as if the two parties don't like to work together.
Right. Well, it's not just Bob too, right, brother? They don't work with the Zone. They don't work with Matt. I mean, well, they're not even relevant anymore. But what's the other one? Duva's promotion.
I don't know if Duva's got anybody right now, but I know what you're saying.
I know. The last person they had was Kovalev, but they were in the 90s. They were like one of the big guys. But yeah, no, the PBC does outside of, I think, Jacobs for Triple G, and that was because Jacobs was going to leave. He did. He ended up leaving him anyways. But Fury, Wilder, and they needed Fury because they don't have the money to pay for Wilder to fight anybody else. But other than that, They don't do cross promotions. They just don't do it.
Well, we've talked about that many times before.
Gary Antonio Russell.
What I want to Inoue Donaire rematch. I mean, I would, if Donaire's got enough time left to put another fight or two to market that fight up to build his. Because let's face it, once you beat a guy, it's kind of hard to sell a rematch unless it's a controversial win, which that one wasn't. It was a tough fight. It was a great fight, but it was a new anyways win, solid win. So how do you sell a rematch other than okay, you got another title? Let's see you defend it with something definitive to let us think that hey, this might be worthy of something. Marketability wise, I think we need something like that first.
Exactly. I didn't see anything last night to make me think he'd beat Inoue. Put it that way.
Well, I mean,
that there'd be any difference.
Short of
he's still good, but I just don't see. I don't know. I think there's other fights to be made. Now, what happened? When did Donaire leave? When did he sign with PBC? He hasn't always been with them, right?
I don't know. He was with the WBSS
for a while.
He was fighting on the WBSS, right? And then he fought Inoue in that same tournament. And then he hadn't fought since. And all of a sudden he reappears here on the PBC. So yeah, I'd like to know somebody in the chat room. If somebody can enlighten us on who he's being represented by.
I think he was with Top Rank. I'm almost positive he was with Top Rank for a while.
He left Gary Shaw to go to Top Rank. And if you remember, once he beat Darchinian, he was with that was an in-house Gary Shaw promotion, and then either the contract was up or he found a loophole out and he went with Bob. And because
wasn't he with Richard Schaefer yesterday?
Who's
Well,
Richard
now,
Schaefer
yeah.
working
in the ring? Well, Ringstar Promotions.
Official scorecard in the chat room says Donaire's with Schaefer now. Yeah, so now apparently he's Schaefer
Ringstar.
now.
So that could have been the minor. PPC stays within themselves, but they work with smaller companies and they don't go with the bigger guys. That may have been a situation of happening there.
Yeah.
Going with
Same thing
Schaefer's
with same thing. Kid who fought Rougarou, the same kid who fought Josh Chandler, same situation. Al Heyman's his advisor, but he's still flying on a different promotional like Lou DiBella.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So that's the reason why those fights. But if somebody's strictly PBC, they don't fight cross. I mean, Charlos, all those type of fighters have never fought anyone outside the PBC.
Hey, by the way, shout out
And
to
even put it this way, Charlo actually put a fucking he actually alluded to that. Remember the other day he got all pissed off. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'll fight whoever they keep telling me to fight." Basically saying it wasn't his reason because he's getting a lot of shit for fighting Montel, and rightfully so. And he's trying to say, "I'm only doing it because they told me to."
Well, be a good boy and do what they tell you, I guess. Amok PvP, shout out to Amok PvP for his contribution with the super chat. Didn't leave a message, but thanks, Amok. You're always free to leave a message. When it comes to Donaire, there's slim pickings right now. I'm looking at the ratings here, the Ring Magazine ratings, that is. And, you got Inoue Donaire. Again, I don't think most, you guys made the excellent argument. Donaire put up a good fight, but it's not like he had Inoue on the verge of getting knocked out or anything. So I'm a little bit, it's lukewarm for me. Oubaali just lost. Casimero's got Rigondeaux. And I tell you, man, I think if Rigondeaux still has some semblance of legwork, of footwork, I think he can actually neutralize Casimero, who's very wild. Emmanuel Rodriguez, he got the shaft in his last fight, I believe. So, and he got destroyed. Tete got no chin. Inoue, the Takuma Inoue, that's not going to happen. Maloney, Gary Antonio Russell, who won last night. So you can see, fellas, slim pickings. Is Inoue going to have to move up to 122 now?
I thought that was going to be the thought pattern to begin with, is to pad his resume for Hall of Fame credentials, was to move up another weight class.
Yeah, that's sense.
And by the way, me personally, I think he's already got enough to win to be inducted eventually down the road. But I think one more weight class couldn't hurt. I think he was at 108, skipped 112, went to 115. Now he's at 118, and then if he's able to go to 122 and actually win and be successful, that's 4 different divisions.
Yeah, that would be that's Hall of Fame shit right there, man. And because I was looking at the rankings, and by the way, Troy in the chat donating with the super chat says, "I am on the phone." All right, hold on a second. Let me pick. He wants to talk about Donaire. He said, "Troy, are you there?"
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
man.
yeah, he is a living legend to me, man. He's also one of my favorite human beings to ever lace up the gloves. I really appreciate his soul. I tell you what,
Here, brother.
I really appreciated him when he lost to Nicholas Walters, and just how those two kind of bonded after the fight. That's when he showed the truth of what his strength is and his character is. Because he could have said A, B, C, D, but he just said, "Look, he kicked my ass. He was big, and he kicked my ass." And I'm glad he's still at it, and he's doing great things, man. Him and Pacquiao are boxing's two active living legends, and I actually love watching him work. And he has that monster left hook, which nobody seems to be able to take except for Walters. Nobody.
Yeah, it seems everybody.
I agree with you.
Almost everybody he's fought either gets hurt or dropped, even if they beat him. Like Walters got stunned with a left uppercut, I believe. Magdaleno, I think he also
he was rocked.
Yeah, he did the stanky leg.
Well, if you look in super slow mo, I saw a super slow mo HD video of him throwing a left hook. He wings that thing.
Yeah.
He's like Ken Griffey Jr. You know what I mean? He just fucking throws everything behind it. But I agree with you, Troy. I think he's he's one of the best human beings in boxing.
Because he's older and he went down in weight. That's actually very amazing, considering that he was what?
Yeah.
He was at 126 at one point, right?
Yeah.
Almost unheard of in boxing to do good.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because I think we're over talking each other.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying almost unheard of to do that, for a fighter to go back down in weight. It's almost been, he's one of the few fighters that ever been able to do it and be successful. It almost never works out for a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a long track record of guys trying to go back down in weight to recapture glory, and it doesn't. And I just wanted to say, Troy, I agree 100%. I think he's a quality human being and a class act.
Yeah, man, the dude is just, he should be the poster boy for boxing somewhere, but he's not. Unless you're a real fan, you really don't hear his name. But he's just a good dude, man, and I wish him nothing but the best. And who's actually next for him? Do any of you know? Is he getting a rematch? And, it's the last thing. For some reason, the guy he fought last night kind of remind me of Darchinian. I don't know why. Maybe some of his movements and stuff. I was constantly thinking about Darchinian. Did you see that?
Yes.
Sort of awkward, little awkward. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah,
Troy, a friend of mine and I were talking about that and how the left-handed stance, a little bit shorter. By the record, looks like he's a power puncher and he relies more on his power. And the way he took him apart was very much like what he did to Darchinian in both of those fights.
Oh gosh, that fight was great. But
he's muscular, similar to Darchinian.
Yeah, he's got
similar
musculature.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump off, man. I know I overstayed my welcome a little bit, so I just wanted to get my talking about my man Donaire. I really appreciate that, brother, man. Good dude.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Excellent point.
And like I said, if you're available tomorrow, 9:30, we have a Hall of Famer on, and we probably will have in a future Hall of Famer on. And they were real close in weight. That's all I'm going to tell you. At 175 pounds.
Oh.
Let's just put it like that. They were 175, 168 pounder, 160 pounder. And trust me, you don't want to miss tomorrow. Last week we had David Benavidez, and that was a fantastic show. Fantastic show. So come through, enjoy yourself.
Troy, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to write this down. I want to get your show, the name of your show, and when it's going to be on.
And it's Major Keys. It's Major Keys' show. I'm just kind of let's just say I'm a silent partner.
Troy always makes.
Am I anywhere near the right ballpark by saying Roy Jones?
Yeah, don't try to guess. Don't try to guess, Jimmy. You're gonna ruin the surprise.
And last thing, is this a call-in show or just a listen? I'll listen if that's all it is. But is this a call-in show?
Oh no! You get on the panel. We always talk to the guests for like 30, 35 minutes, and then we put it out there that we're going to bring a few people on. And, you get on the panel, ask your questions and all that. They're all open to it. David Benavidez was open to it. Simon Brown was open to it, So, we had a few people on. Damon Nicholson was open to it as well. So, yeah. We had Junior Jones on. We had Junior Jones and
tomorrow night at what time?
9:30 p.m., baby. 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Hey, Troy, I wanted to. Troy, don't you agree? I think a lot of fighters could. Did you see the respect he showed his fighter until he knew his fighter wasn't hurt at the end of the fight, like he wasn't celebrating over him? I always think that's a classy
Oh
thing.
yeah. Well, that's a part of his core, man. That dude, like I said, he's a good dude, man. I only cried one time where boxing concerned. I'm gonna bring this up for a reason. When Johnny Tapia died, I cried when he passed. But yeah, this dude here means something to me just because of how he is. You know what I mean? But I'm gone. I got to take this call.
All right, take it easy,
All right,
Troy.
man.
Thank you for going back, man. Hey, you know what? I didn't cry, but you know what sort of disconcerted me a little bit was Israel Vasquez was on commentating for a Mexican. What was it, for the DAZN or for the Showtime fight? I forget, but not for. He wasn't on the. It was on the Spanish feed, and they showed him on camera. The guy looks weird, and the last I'd heard about him was he was having some serious medical issues. I think they actually had to take an eye out. I think he's got a glass eye, and I said, "Oh boy, he looked."
He had surgery on one of his eyes after the fourth Marquez fight.
Yeah, but that's a separate issue. I know that's bad, but I think he's got cancer.
Ah, shit, that sucks, man. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, if you got, I'm looking it up here, Israel Vasquez, because I think that there has to be some form of way to help him out or something. Because this is, if anybody deserves help from the boxing public, this is the guy. Fought everybody, gave it his all. He didn't go there for decision wins and to tap his way to 12. This guy went for it, and if he's paying I know that the cancer doesn't have made anything to do with his, he didn't get this because of boxing, but still, I mean, this guy, as far as I know, he didn't make all that much money. So,
and there was also like an incident with a Mexican singer. Now that he's like in this condition, he tried to cloud him, and he went to an event, and he went to a event. He took his belt, and this one Mexican singer guy tried to sign the belt. I think he actually did, and fucking he got bad. So it's kind of like, man, people see him nowadays, and they don't see him as a person he once was.
Well, listen, the inside, he's still a fucking warrior, man. And if I'm trying to look for if he's got to go, because I read that article years ago, so I don't know if he's still asking for help or something. Yeah.
Well, to that point of being devastated, that was me with Marvin Hagler. I was literally in the supermarket when I found out, with a carriage like brimming over the top with food. I just walked out, left it right where I was standing when my friend told me, just like I was struck dumb, and I just walked out, sat in the car, and I'll admit, man, I was misty, because it was like a, yeah. Anyways, that was, and also another one, the Panamanian boy, fucking, oh my God, I'm having a brain fart, but you know what I'm talking about.
The one that died of AIDS?
What's that? Alexis Arguello. I'm sorry.
Oh, Arguello. Well, Nicaraguan, yeah. See, that's the thing. For Jimmy, they're all the same.
I was devastated when he died.
Jimmy, at least you didn't say the Mexican guy. Jimmy was going to say the Mexican guy. Or they're all Mexicans to Jimmy.
They're all fuck. You know, come on.
So that was the first one that happened that year, in that month. It all happened in 1 month. And then, of course, we know Arturo Gatti after that. And then the nail in the coffin, I'm going to say this as quickly as I can so I don't get misty on the air, but you guys know I went to high school with Vernon Forrest. And so that was the icing on the cake that day. Because Arguello was one of my heroes, and I met him at the Hall of Fame. I never got to meet Gotti, but we were the same age. And then my friend called me and said, "Did you hear about Vernon?" And I was like, "Well, let me guess. He's dead too?" Because being sarcastic because of, the fact that Gotti and Arguello died. And he said, "Yeah, he got shot."
How did Forrest die?
He got shot by someone who was trying to carjack him.
Jesus Christ.
He dated a woman, and she had a kid, and he became very close to that kid. And so even after they broke up, he still acted like a father figure to that kid. And the kid was in the car when they stole the car. And so he chased them down, and he had a licensed gun, and he was going after them with his gun. And they shot at him. He returned fire, and he got shot in the stomach and died. So that was but it wasn't just the fact it was Vernon. It was also the fact that that's 3 guys that I watched, religiously in 1 month. That 2009 was a tough year. 2009 was a tough year.
They say things come in threes. I remember that.
And 2 of them were murdered. right? A Toro and fucking Vernon
Well,
Forrest. So,
some people think all three were Arguello. There's some unanswered questions.
oh, Aguayo was murdered too. Yeah, that's right. So all three of them
Arguello
were
somehow or
murdered.
another found a way to to commit suicide by shooting himself in the chest with a shotgun.
Yeah, in his chest.
I mean,
Just
yeah,
saying.
He was very political, although I didn't agree with his politics because he was kind of a socialist. But
they don't even try to
They
hide
did
it over
him
there.
dirty. They took away all his properties too. Over there in Nicaragua.
Hey, I don't want to turn this into the morbid debate arena, but didn't O'Neal Bell get shot? He got shot too, right? O'Neal Bell, former cruiserweight champ, he got shot in a bus stop, I think, or something. Maybe I should look that up.
So did Hector Camacho. He was murdered in Puerto Rico.
Jeez, Luis. I mean, I tell you, fellas, just those
It's a
dangerous
violent
neighborhoods,
sport.
man. Yeah, it's a
tends to
sport. Shit, that sucks, man. But yeah, hey, by the way, Chief, I didn't know you knew Vernon Forrest. Or maybe you say it in passing one time, and I forgot.
He said
I
once
thought I
off
mentioned
the
him.
show to me.
Oh,
I don't remember you
that's
saying
what
it on the show
It was
though.
one of our after air conversations. Me, you,
Yes.
and Recognize, and BDA. You may not have been there. I went to high school with him. Went to the Academy in Richmond County in Augusta, Georgia. He's the reason why Augusta. He and Ray Mercer went to the same high school at different years, obviously, and in 1996, a lot of the Olympic boxing went through Augusta, and it's because the Augusta Boxing Club got a lot of notoriety due to Vernon being on the 1992 team. So that's how I ended up running across. I've seen Mayweather in a couple different tournaments when I was helping work corners, but that's how I got in really working with those guys, is because the Olympic box offs was held in Augusta, and then they came back and did their last 2 months of training before the Olympics in my gym. All of them, the whole 96 team.
Wow. Oh, that must have been quite a sight, man. Especially now in hindsight, knowing how many of those guys. I mean, just the overall 96 Olympics. It was a lot of great fighters came out of there. But
I think only 3 guys didn't win a title in that. Albert Guardado was 108-ish. He didn't win one. Clay Bay didn't win a world title, and Nate Jones didn't win a title.
Clay was
Rashad Wells almost. I don't say almost won. I think he fought for a title but didn't win one, and everybody else did. Eric Morel did. Zaire Rahim didn't win a title, did he?
I don't. Well, when he beat Morales,
he beat Eric Morales, but that wasn't a title fight.
Oh, okay. But it's still. I mean, yeah, it's still count that as a title fight for Pete's sakes.
He has a win over a Hall of Famer, so let's give him those props. So everybody else, Eric Morel, Floyd Mayweather, obviously, Zab Judah, Fernando Vargas, David Diaz, Terrence Coughlin didn't win a title.
Yeah, that was it. The guy with the mustache. There was one dude with a mustache.
Yeah, he had mustache. He was a lanky southpaw lightweight from Philadelphia. Him, Zaire Rahim, David Reed, and Terrence Coughlin were the Philadelphia trifecta, is what they called them, because all 3 of them made the team from Philadelphia. And the ironic thing is, under the table, most people know about, is going into the boxing trials. Brandon Mitchum, Jacob Hudson, and Frank Durst were all from Augusta, and all made the trials from Augusta. So the underbetting of people that didn't really know the sport that well on the amateur side was which city was going to have the trifecta of people that were going to make the Olympic team, and none of the Augusta guys did, but they came damn close.
Man, that's insane. The Olympic team. Did you mention Tarver? Because I'm looking at the photo here, and Tarver was.
Yeah, so Tarver. The funny thing about Tarver was, you guys remember Devero Williamson, the heavyweight? They called him Touch of Sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, that was his sparring partner, because he sparred a little bit with Rashai Wells, because that was the closest person to weight. David Reed was only 154 pounds, so that wasn't big enough for him to spar with. So he sparred a lot with Devero Williamson, and Williamson would just pummel him, absolutely pummel the daylights out of Tarver all day, because he was like 6'3", 6'4", and even though Tarver's a southpaw, Williamson's best punch was a straight right hand, and he's a power puncher. He wasn't just knocking people out in the pros; he was knocking people out in the amateurs easily with his right hand. So he's just sitting there jabbing away, and Tarver come in, bam, right hand. Tarver goes in the corner, and he'd just pummel the crap out of Tarver.
The fuck. Great sparring, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Remember, even Chris Bird said that Devero Williamson had a cracking. Like he says that he was probably the '90s version and mid 2000s version of Deontay Wilder, except maybe not as explosive with that 1-2, but still, I mean, he hurt Vladimir Klitschko in their fight, so. And
I
that's
think he was
insane,
more
man.
skilled. I think he had more athleticism than Wilder, and just his biggest problem was he was just too nice. He had a good punch, but he was just too nice. I mean, he pummeled Tarver mostly because Tarver wouldn't punch back, but he was holding back on Tarver when he was doing that. He was pummeling at range and just, and that straight right hand could keep going through, and that was his money punch. But he never really unloaded on Tarver because he knew he was smaller. He was just too nice of a guy. I think if he had that mean streak, he might have won a title, but he would have been a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, that's a thing, huh? That's the mentality. It's a big part of the boxing. By the way, fellas, don't forget to hit the like button. Hit the like. But yeah, the mentality, you got to have a little bit of that killer instinct. And that's why, if I just mentioning Haney, I don't want to go back to Haney, but just to say Haney, at least he showed a bit of a killer instinct in there by going after Linares in some spots. So, but yeah, that killer instinct, either you have it or you don't. How many times have we seen guys who have punching power, they don't let their hands go. They're waiting for the perfect shot. That if you wait for it, it ain't gonna come. You gotta create it. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, fellas, I think that's about it. Actually, hold on, real quick, Jimmy, you're our resident expert. Jean Pascal, which is the only fight anybody would have really looked forward to in that Jake Paul versus Mayweather card. Now his fight with Baidu Jack, the rematch is off because Jean Pascal tested positive for 3 separate steroids, I believe. I got to check out what exactly were. Jimmy, when somebody gets caught with 3 different substances, illegal substances in their body, I mean, there's just no excuse, right? I mean, what's going on here?
No, and the things he was caught for was straight up steroids. It wasn't like, I was using a fucking nasal spray that had a banned substance in it, or I was using something else that, could have been construed as, you know what I mean? No, he was using actual steroids. So, you know what I mean? Like there's no Narandolol found in hamburgers.
Yeah.
I think Decker was one of the things he got caught for. No, he's done. His career's over.
No tainted meat in this one, huh?
Yeah, no tainted meat. No, he got caught taking steroids.
This one really sucks,
I think
man.
most of them do. I think a lot of the guys take it. It's just they're smart enough not to take it in certain times. You know what kind of surprises me? That Spence Pacquiao, they haven't even announced if it's VADA testing. VADA has so far said they haven't even been notified.
You know what?
Judging,
let those.
There's a very good possibility they won't be if nobody makes the issue of it, because Spence has eventually got, and I'm not trying to trash his reputation. This is hearsay of what I think I know, and I'm not trying to discredit the show or anything else. He's never really been over anxious to be registered with WADA or VADA. Most BBC fighters, from what I understood, had to be pushed into that after they moved away from USADA. And
the PBC thing, remember when they first started, that was the whole thing. They were going to change boxing and guarantee all their fighters with 24/7, 365 a year testing, and that just went by the wayside. And listen, you can say what you want. I know one thing happens. Teenage boys, the kids who get bitch tit, extra estrogen in your nipples, where you get swollen nipples, almost never happens to a mesomorph body style. Almost never, because their body type is that type that, usually has a lot of testosterone to begin with. That's why usually soft, doughy type kids who aren't type level dudes will get it. So for him to have bitch tit as bad as he had it in his early 20s, come on. It's not a smoking gun, but it's as close to one as if you ask me.
Are you saying he had to up his epitestosterone level to hide something? I'm not asking.
Well, I just know he had bitch tit. He had the swollen. You could actually see the lumps of. There's a few pictures out there where he absolutely had bitch tit. There was some gyno going on there. It does happen. It does happen. I think 1 in 10 kids can get slightly get it, but it's almost unheard of for a mesomorph body type to get it.
What's a mesomorph body style?
Very muscular, small joints, round muscle bellies, athletic builds. It's usually doughy kids. Just soft, doughy kids, almost mean. You know what I mean? Like the soft kids.
Yeah.
Because they have extra estrogen to begin with, and it's just an overflow, and they have low testosterone levels, so the body doesn't react well to it. And he absolutely He's fucking fist up, double fist, overhead pose, and you can tell he had some bitch stick going on.
Yeah, there was one video. I'm trying to look for it, but there was one where he's in the woods shooting chickens or something. I don't know if he was hunting hogs, but you see his chest at some point. He's got tits. He's supposed to be a lean guy and everything. How do you develop tits? That's unless you're skinny fat. I can see that, but he's no skinny fat.
Exactly. You just said the key word, skinny fat. Usually doughy, soft kids will end up with the fucking gynecomastia, which all it is extra estrogen. When you have extra testosterone put in your body's going to produce extra estrogen. And it goes somewhere, and it goes into the bitch tit, and it goes into that area. So, whereas, people would say, well, Mayweather never gets caught, but there's other signs like injection sites, those little hard BB, pea things under the skin, the stomach, because that's where you shoot human growth hormone between the skin and muscle. That's why you always inject it in the belly.
Well, I gotta tell you, man, this is all very disconcerting for me because I'm a Jean Pascal fan. And listen, we've talked about it before. I think most of these guys are on something. But just for him to get caught with 3 different ones, it's always going to be over his head.
It's not his first time either, right? Wasn't he caught before?
Yes, but let me that jumped right in. I've heard that. I don't remember reading it.
Yeah, I don't remember that either, man. But look at his body, man. The guy's fucking chiseled and muscular. So
exactly,
it was always might have been something. Yeah, might have been. Oh, and by the way, in Pacquiao, recognize saying in the chat room, I want to repeat that too. Pacquiao Spence. No testing. Let them both choose. A legend like Pacquiao, man, fucking make it. Give him a chance to rejuvenate. See what happens, man. Because that's the closest we're gonna see Spence against a prime Pacquiao.
If they let him juice, and I'll tell you what. And if they let him use an IV bag the night before to rehydrate, he beats Spence. If he's able to take what he wants, he beats Spence. No doubt about it. If they both juice.
Hey, that he was just dehydrated, man. That was legit. And they debunked all that with the people that say that USADA debunks that did not read that rebuttal because USADA Hauser said that according to his sources they walked in with when they and Mayweather already had the IV in his arm. No, USADA actually said Mayweather knew they were coming to his house. They let him know that that they were coming. It was not a random test. And then he couldn't give while they were in there. So they went and got the IV and the observer watched them take the IV, put it into his arm, knew it was 750 milliliters when he was only allowed 200 for an entire day. 50 at one sitting, but 200 for an entire day. And then they said, don't worry, we'll get you the waiver later. And they
the waiver later, that's right. The night before the Pacquiao fight. And listen, I'll tell you, there's not a steroid besides halotestin, which is just a great steroid if you don't mind going crazy, but it gives you unbelievable strength without the weight. So that's a wrestling drug. It's a boxer's testosterone they'll take. Other than that, I would say I would take a bag of fucking saline, sugar water the night before a fight over anything. There's nothing you can beat that. It's literally going right directly into your fucking muscles. It's the ultimate of ultimate cheating.
Stop
but
giving
the
people
that
ideas,
like
man.
to rebuttal back on that, they try to say they never read the freaking article because if they did, they'd realize USADA admitted that they knew everything.
Yes. There's no denying it. Anybody who tries to say it didn't happen is lying.
Because you guys are bringing this to a whole other spiral here. This is going to spiral out of control.
Okay.
Let's just say, and I can tell you guys know your shit because you bring out facts and not just saying, well, he looks like he's natural. Nah, you got to come in like Chief and Jimmy. Facts. Other than that, fellas, we do have to go.
I'm just a hater, BDA. I'm just a hater. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I hate this fucking sport. I just want to bash everybody.
Right,
yeah, but you love it at the same time, Jimmy, just like I do.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
That's why we're on this panel and can't get away from it.
BDA, thank you for having me, brother. Chief, you guys have a good one. Recognize, I know you're out there in the chat. You guys all be safe. Thanks for having me on.
Always, man.
Night,
Thank
Jimmy.
you for being on, man. You,
BDA,
Gonzalo,
have a good night. Thank you very much for having me. I got to go too.
All right, take it easy, Chief. Thank you for being on. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Gonzalo. Thanks to everybody who called in, everybody that donated with the super chat. Let me see if I can go back to the super chats because lately it nope, doesn't fucking. I used to be able to go to viewer activity and I could see the super chats. Now I can't see it. But listen, guys, you know who you are. Thank you so much for donating. Thank you so much for listening, for calling in, making this an interesting show. We don't always agree on everything, but the best thing here is everybody gets their say because you never know, man. If we start silencing people, then we don't get to the truth. That's all we're trying to get at here, the truth. Who's the best, who's the worst, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. Anyway, listen, fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. What about me, Mr. E, Lobito, a.k.a. Gonzalo, Ryan McRae, One Foot Out the Door, Harold Masters, Black Lomachenko, Something, Official Scorecard Boxing. Check out his channel, the Coup d'etat Boxing. Reverend Pickles, Recognize the Matrix. Who else? I'm going back here. Burgess Meredith, who's got a very interesting name. GB Guthrie, Waltoon, Harold Masters, 11-7. Guys, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. If I left anybody out, it's because I gotta go. But thank you so much for listening. Catch you in the next one, folks. Oh, and don't forget to check out the Wilder Fury video where I ask whether Wilder has a chance in the rubber match, and I actually outline a path to victory for Wilder. So check that out, and we'll catch you in the next one, folks.
Disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time. I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.